Howdy, folks. Welcome to Adventures in Alberon, our 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons game, where every casualty that the party takes, it also causes. I'm Joe Treff, your Dungeon Master for the evening, and joining me, playing the various members of the Finger Gang, we have Matt, Miles, Allie, and Tina. We have this great campaign that's been going on for close to 16 months now. So pretty sweet. That's actually pretty dope. I was talking about this game with a couple other people earlier, and we realized that we've done close to 75 sessions in total when you count, not 75, close to 55 sessions in total when you count the one-shots and the other stuff, not even counting the pre-stream part of our campaign that was never on stream, which I'm also working on something for, which I think is pretty cool. But speaking of announcements, a couple of things first. The website has recently been undergoing a lot of updates. There's even more lore from the Alberon universe that is available there. You can please check it out at alberonrpg.com. There's also, under the homebrew tab, a bunch of things that we've used in the campaign. There's a location guide for Quinn, there's a location guide for the Undercity, and then there is also, in its entirety, the module that we played in the last one-shot that Drew from Dicey Encounters was a guest star, which is A Tome in the Desert. Those are all for free forever to download. So check that out. That's alberonrpg.com. I also really wanted to take a second to thank Talon, who is one of our amazing moderators. His daughter drew for us this super cool little picture of Guntir and Morwen and Doug the Wombat, the former Wombat, I guess now, ex-Wombat. Yeah, rip. But really, really awesome and a great picture. And Talon does so much for our channel, so thank you very much for that. There are a few things that are in our store. You can find a link for it below. There's a couple of different shirt styles. There's some new styles and some new colors. I was going to wear mine this week, and I forgot. It's in the living room. Maybe I'll switch over to it at a break. We are also working on, when I say we, I strictly mean Tina and Matt, are working on a new interface for what you see in front of you, the frames that kind of go around these cameras. I don't really know where my hands end on the camera screen. But there's a new overlay that's going to give us a lot more flexibility in how we do things, how the cameras look. It's also going to allow us to bring a little bit more action back to combat, which I am very excited for. So there's going to be a couple changes. Sorry about the cars going by. There's going to be a couple changes coming forward over the next couple weeks or months. Next week, we're a little bit up in the air because I will not be in town. However, I believe, provided that I have a connection, I'll be able to run, but we'll test it well before Friday. We'll put all that stuff up on social media and things. And then finally, we have Sirenscape, which we as players can all hear now, thanks to a lot of hard work from Tina. But you guys can also hear as well. So the sound effects, the music, everything that doesn't come out of my mouth, that stuff is all coming from Sirenscape, which is an awesome digital tool set for dungeon masters, for players, for people who like making bat noises to scare their friends. There's all kinds of sound effects on there. So check out Sirenscape. And with that, I think that's all the announcements that I wanted to make, unless anybody else had one. Alrighty. So let's get into our recap. The last time that we played, Finger Gang, you slipped through the ash-laden streets quietly through a variety of alleys, surveying the wreckage of a once great city that is Kol Taram. Came upon the tunnel that the Resistance had dug to overlook or perhaps perform some kind of surveillance on the Halls of Atonement, the large prison complex run by Kol Taram, currently taken over by Kindscale, the purple dragon that is laying siege to the entire city. You all found a group of soldiers of Kindscales uncovering this tunnel. And so you took your position stealthily throughout, around the two-story houses bracketing the courtyard, except for Guntir, who clanged loudly through the ground floor and sneezed, alerting everyone of his presence. But as the guards moved to investigate Shae, you dropped Assassin's Creed style from the roof of this structure past Heinrich on the second floor and engaged the enemy. You fought hard, with Shae dealing significant damage to several enemies at once, including taking a crossbow bolt and throwing it into the chest of a very confused dwarf. Bugbears were waiting in ambush, but Helia uncovered them, getting knocked unconscious in the process. Morwen, you closed and dealt with the threat attempting to rescue Helia and actually almost killing her. However, once you were able to resolve the immediate threat of the bugbears, though the combat raged in the courtyard beyond, you took some time to loot the bodies. The rest of the combat, in fact. For everybody else, suddenly, there seemed to be, as you guys took the upper hand, there was a shaking and quaking of the ground before a massive violet-skinned giant emerged from the ruins of the structure and leveled his hand at you, Guntir, issuing you a challenge to prove that you are no longer a coward. Guntir, you died like 4 times. Electrocuted, you got cleaved by a massive greatsword deep into the shoulder. But through one of the massive bursts of lightning bolts, you seem to have recovered your powers. Heinrich, you were responsible not only for healing Guntir repeatedly, pulling him from the brink of death time after time, only to be struck down again, but you also managed to slay many of the soldiers, your guardian of faith emerging from a shimmering glyph to swing a mighty broadsword that cleaved the soldiers from belly to brow. You finally managed to utilize Eldritch Blast. We lost Silence again.
Oh, no.
We did. Hold on, it's coming back.
It took some time, Guntir and Heinrich, to administer the last rites to the fallen, with you, Guntir, obtaining a newish set of half-plate along the way. Morwen, you lost the loss of Doug, the wombat that you had found. Gently used, a little bit of blood, right off. Morwen, you mourn the loss of Doug, the wombat that you had discovered only hours before, although it seems like months, deep within the Dawnfather ziggurat. Shae, you walked the perimeter to discover that for the moment, anyways, you seemed safe. And as Guntir finished machine gunning, mending to brick by brick, reassemble the courtyard, once beautiful and decorative, now just a jumble of bricks, you all decided to find, much like
Oh, crap.
Guntir, with a massive swirl of the snow-like ash that falls steadily to the ground from the fires burning above, Krawtic, the Aarakocra scout and sky brother to Shae, and love interest to Morwen, landed, displacing a circle of ash in a halo around him. And as he stands up, you can see, now having actually been out and being part of an adventure, no longer, and you would remember, you all found him kind of cooped up in his house. He wasn't leaving. He really had felt as if he had failed Kol Taram. In deep reflection to that, finding him like that 2 weeks ago, he is again kind of like ripped. You can see the little bit of tub that had kind of developed from staying cooped up for so long is now faded away. You can see there is bits of ash and soot streaked through the feathers of this kind of red hawk-like plumage. But he stands there unhurt, alone, no longer with the tiefling that Morwen was so worried about. And looks around at all of you assembled. You can see Helia kind of like still holding the healed but still recent and fresh wounds obtained in this battle. What would you like to do?
It's good to see you, Sky Brother.
Krawtic, for his part, moves forwards towards you and gently leans forwards, his forehead tapping yours in a very familiar gesture to you. He pulls back. Shae, it is good to see you. He turns, and you can see eyes, each one of you, very bird-like from the side. There is much to discuss. He seems to kind of look around. Is it safe here?
Not as such.
You can see all of a sudden, his focus zooms in on Guntir, and you could see he steps forwards and reaches one hand out and just kind of touches the hair. Touches it one more time. Guntir.
Ah.
You seem to be different. You have hair.
Yeah, that happened while you were gone.
He turns, and you can see one eye still focused on you, Guntir, but the other one from the side of the head kind of looking at you, Shae. And there is just this inquisitive element to that look that through years you can kind of see. It doesn't have eyebrows necessarily, but you can almost picture the plumage shifting slightly in a lift. But he turns back, looking at all of you. Is this place safe enough? I do have much news to bring.
Inside, probably best.
He turns and looks, and you can see off to the side. So in this courtyard on either side, there's a house. There's the one on the right, Heinrich, that you had stayed up in the second floor. And there's the one off to the left where Morwen, you had engaged in combat with those bugbears. Do you want to go into one of those? There's other houses around.
One where we were fighting the giant last, since it's the one that we know the best and closest, and whatever. That's my
Maybe
thought.
we should move somewhere else. We did just get into quite a hubbub here, and they're looking for us. Should probably keep moving.
We're here too, right? Is there any immediate danger coming our way that you know of?
And turns. Not that I saw, but understand the smoke here makes seeing hard.
I don't trust the tracks that lead off. Someone got away. Help will come eventually.
Maybe
Helia,
we should.
holding on to her stomach a little bit, speaks up. I have to agree with Shae on this one. Normally I'm up for a bit of adventure at any time, but I'm not quite feeling myself. I could use a lie down.
Let's go find another abandoned house with a little better cover.
Should we try to get back to those resistance guys? They probably want to know about their friend.
And
To get a vantage point on our plan to go into the prison, and we haven't even looked at it yet, so I don't want to go too far.
Guys, we're also like completely frozen right now.
are we on the stream?
Yeah.
Oh,
We're
no.
lagging pretty bad and freezing.
Oh no.
Oh. Oh.
I don't
Tina,
know.
you got a...
I got an idea. Hold on.
Oh yeah, I can see it. It's lagging real bad. Alright, well if you can hear us, give us just 1 second. We're going to see if we can sort this out real quick. But
Funny
moving on...
faces in case it freezes.
Oh, so just pull a mat? Alright. Well, we will get there when we get there. The audio is better than the video right now, so they can hear us at least. So we go just give it a shot. But for the time being, you can listen to the audio. So, you guys kind of looking around. You want to go to a different house?
I want to look around, see
Far.
if there's anywhere like nearby that's not too far
Make a perception check, yeah.
for us to go that's safe, but also like away from the immediate area of the battle.
Yeah, make a perception check.
That's 7 plus 16.
16. Okay. Ooh. With a 16, looking around, you can see, turning like immediately around behind you, maybe no more than 60 feet. There is a set of stone steps that leads to the place that you know is, because you can actually see it, it's in dwarven runes across. It says upper safe quarter. It does, as you look up, and looking across the street, there's damage. You can see walls crumbled in from where Joe Treff, the giant that you guys just felled, is originally kind of ruptured through to emerge into the combat. But looking up, you can see many of the buildings kind of jagged and broken. It seems as if it did take a little bit more damage. Could perhaps lead to better cover. Kind of unclear from your vantage point. You are about 60 feet down. Looking along the way into a bit of damage, but beyond that, and you've come from behind, so you actually know that there are alleyways that kind of sink down and are sort of subset into the ground, where there are like shops on that level and then residences above. So pretty much any direction that you go, you are in this massive city in a hollowed out mountain. You can come across various places to hide.
Okay. And which one is continuing towards the... Well, I guess we should go upper safe, because... Yeah.
It's
Let's
up to
go
you.
up. We gotta go up. We gotta find a vantage point, so let's check the up those stairs.
Up
gonna
those
start-
stairs.
Let's do
I'm gonna
that.
start
That's a good idea.
shuffling over stealthily in that direction.
Make a stealth
Or-
check for me.
Stealthily
Everybody who
as-
wants to be stealthy, make a stealth check.
as Guntir stealth,
Guntir stealth.
which
Not,
is
not to be rude, Guntir, but you also have disadvantage like me now because of your armor.
oh yeah, because I have half
We're both
plate.
clangy boys.
Which is perfect because you guys are so good at stealth to begin with.
Great. So that 11 becomes a 2.
It's alright.
Okay.
Mine's well, actually, 14, not bad.
Okay, not bad. Morwen, are you going as well?
I mean, I always sneak, so
Sure.
yes. I mean, well, everyone's going, right?
Yeah, make
we're
a stealth
gonna
check.
go get an
I've
advantage
just been
point.
reunited. I'm not.
Yeah, make a stealth check. Yeah, make a stealth check.
It's a 22.
22. Okay, Krawtic rolled a natural 20. With dicey encounters dice.
There you go.
That's 2 natural 20s. That's great.
I like this as long as they're all on our side.
Yeah, I know, right? That's amazing. So you quietly, as a group, sort of sink down into the soot. Guntir, you are the lone person making noise. It is a group of specters moving through as the ash has kind of fallen over time. All of you have a slight bit of this kind of whitish gray coating you, and it makes you blend even better. For Guntir, he's just changed, so all of that is gone. He's wearing this kind of shiny half plate that he had to kind of buff all the blood off of, so
It's a
extra
little
thin.
stiff.
It is a little stiff, and also
A little scorched, too.
you guys can just hear the kind of clank, clank, clank every time he walks. Very unstealthy. However, you guys make your way up to the stair.
Noise, not
I know,
surprised.
weird. Yeah, it took the half plate for that. But you climb the stairs. It's about 60 feet, and step by step you take them until you get to upper safe quarter. And as you crest, you can see maybe this part of the shelf goes another 75 feet out, but it runs long. This is a long strip, almost like a road built into the side of the mountain. Immediately to your right, you can see it's like a long, thin building. It looks like at one point was maybe rolled a 16 for your previous perception check. It looks like at one point, hard to tell from the outside, but it's relatively well intact compared to the rest of the structures around here.
I'll make my way towards the more intact looking structure.
Okay. So it's funny because as your group passes, it's quiet. You guys are just creeping through, and there's footsteps, although for many of you, they fill in very quickly with bits of ash, and it's falling harder now. There's just one streak of these 2 slippers that have just been shuffling through the ash. That is all that is really telling of your passage. And we'll see what that does. But for now, you guys all huddle into the space. As you filter in one by one, it's a very, very long structure. In total, stretching probably about 60 feet in its widest point. There are 2 doors that would separate it, although they are currently ajar. The room that you enter into, Guntir, is sort of the middle of these 3 rooms. It's the only door that you see from the vantage point that you're at. And as you walk towards it, you notice there are 2 signs. At first, you don't notice them because they're completely covered in ash. But one seems a little bit bigger on the left, made out of wood, which is unusual for Kol Taram. And then the one on the right that seems to be made out of metal. The door itself has been just completely kicked in. You can see elements of shattered wood on the ground, and beyond, the room that you walk into seems fairly empty. You'd have to, but as you kind of walk in, you said you're entering, you cast your glance first to the left, and you see there are just doors open, rows and rows and rows of small cages. And you can see like an overturned stool, just elements of kind of bone on the ground, and you do see, even in this dim light with your vision, elements of stain that kind of cover the ground. The stone seeped with a little bit of brown. And then you cast your glance to the right, and you see much larger 3 cages. The only door that you can see, just completely wide and ajar. You see a variety of smaller cages to the left, immediately inside the door, that are also open. huddled around the ground, you can see scraps of fur, small bones, and again, bits of caked brown matter.
Oh, some sort of slaughterhouse or something.
And so one by one, you guys pile in, kind of taking the central space for yourself.
Can I go back out and just, I want to read the 2 signs, like wipe the ash off of them.
You guys all pile in, and even as you do, and you kind of start shaking remnants of the ash from your cloaks, Guntir just hustles right back out, and you go up to the wooden sign and you hit it, and the ash scatters down, and behind that it reads Predator. And then you go over to the metal sign, and you are about to clang it, and you're like, oh, and you just wipe it gently off so it doesn't reverberate throughout, and it just reads stamped in Prey. And you begin to think, there's a room full of small cages that are wide open and empty, and a room with 3 large cages, and they correlate very well. This seems to be either a butcher shop or perhaps like a pet store at one point.
Prey spelled Prey?
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
That your
Although I really like that wordplay, and I'm going to use it at some point.
I'm gonna go back in,
Be like, we're in some sort of like bait shop. I think there's predators that way.
point where the sign was pointed.
Okay, and you guys follow that gaze, and the room with the 3 large cages makes sense. Tina, thank you very much. Appreciate all the work.
Hey.
Which also, for just a quick break, all of the people watching, the only reason that this is working is Tina. Tina does a tremendous amount of work on the show. Don't say it enough. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's a tremendous amount of work. Yeah, having done it for the first year, it's a lot of work. But back to the game. You guys all now found yourself within this store, which is called Predator and Prey. Ash falling softly outside. Krawtic and Helia both having rejoined you. What do you want to do?
tell us.
So Miles, when you talk, the first part gets cut out. So just remember that, so that when you talk, you gotta warm it up before you get going.
Hear it? Now you can hear
Yeah,
it.
now I can hear it.
Okay, so now that you can hear it, I asked
Yeah.
you, what was it that you needed to talk about?
You can see now he sort of looks around, and this is sort of like a barren room. He seems almost, and this is fairly unusual for Krawtic, as if he wants to sit down. But he seems content for the moment to stand. It was an easy enough trip back down. You remember the way that we came. The tiefling did receive a minor injury at the, and you can see his eyes squint for a second, elemental Moida home. But soon enough we came upon Stoneguard and some of your relatives, and he gestures towards Helia. A surprising number, in fact. But let me lead with what I feel is the most important. I returned through the tunnels and followed your trail as far as I could in the Ring of Silver, and I noticed that you changed course. And he's mostly now looking at you, Shae. I took a broader sweep under the cover of smoke and managed to catch a glimpse of the inner stairs. There is nothing good occurring there. Towards the bottom, what you would call the southern face, they've removed 3 floors of the side, but it makes no sense. The furniture is still intact. You can see each floor and its occupants, but it looks as if they've built, and you can see, like, he's clearly been thinking about this, but has really no idea what to make of this. A giant archway. Shae,
Yes.
you can see there is a moment where he looks around and his gaze eventually settles on Morwen. And he kind of nods and he says, I believe. And there's a brief moment where you can see he's about to turn to look at Guntir, but he doesn't. We can trust those here. There are runes carved into this archway, which I did not recognize. Perhaps arcane. Heinrich, you would know better than me, but I did recognize one. It is Xinyi. Although I do not know the word, it feels familiar to me. I do not know what this means, but Shae, more than that, there are Xinyi here. Your signals and markings within the ash were not the only ones that I saw. And although they do use a different kind of... The wording is strange to me. It is clearly in Xinyi. Though I could not make out the meaning, I did translate it. Further, when I return to the Undercity, there is something called the drawing happening. And you can see at this, Helia actually kind of sits up. Her eyes go a little bit wide. And she seems to now be paying a little bit more attention. The leaders of the Undercity have recognized that something is wrong. And they seek to convene, although it seems as if none are willing to take the first step. And finally, Shae.
Yes.
As I was flying around the Undercity, I attempted to find the highest vantage point. And up, in one of the tallest pillars that joins the Undercity to Kol Taram, on the 10th story there is, and you can see now this kind of almost a little bit of a smile, there is a bar up there for those who can fly or reach it. Mostly
clever.
Kenku, which is curious to me as they cannot fly. Oh, Guntir.
Yeah.
I asked about Kevin for you, as I know he is very important for some reason.
Oh.
And you can see Krawtic turn, and his head, very bird-like, turns. You... the Kenku.
What's a Kenko?
He suffered a fair amount of damage. in
Kevin the
that
Kenko?
fight. He might have, and I kind of do one of these and point
What?
to...
Is this some joke? What's a Kenko?
It is a metaphor.
Sure.
Because we
Well,
all know you're so good at those, Krawtic. I don't say that out loud.
okay. But, for all of you, we have been apart for some time. What is it that we are doing? What have we found out?
Well, we got some prisoners that we were gonna free, and then we were gonna try to start a fight up on the higher levels, and
The fight we just finished. That was.
yeah, we just got in a fight, and Doug
Basically,
died.
what I think Gunter is trying to say is
And then he died.
there's a form of resistance that's dwindling in this area, but some of the members, or at least one of the leaders, is being held captive in the prison. And there's a spot, apparently right above it, that the resistance remaining members had tried to dig a hole to get a vantage point on it or something, so they might figure out a way to break their leader free.
Are there other Aarakocra?
I'm not certain of that at all. I don't believe so. I haven't seen any.
Well,
I would be surprised.
I do know that all of you are good at falling, but I don't imagine without flight we could reach the Halls of Atonement from a hole in the ceiling. That is nearly a 600-foot fall.
He hadn't looked through the opening yet, and it was more, in my mind, to be used as a vantage point, just to sketch it out and really try to see if we can get a better plan or idea.
So what is below?
Literally haven't looked yet. We had to come up here to go to safety. We were right next to the hole right before this.
It must have been very small.
It was hidden,
It
actually
looks like
masterfully by Gunter, believe it or not, with some returned magic.
Well, does that have to do with the hair, Gunter?
Unrelated.
Very well. So what is our next step? We have much information, but no clear path.
This whole Xinyi thing all of a sudden. That sounds like a little bit more of a reliable ally in trying
It
to
is
dispose of a dragon.
not an ally.
No? Then what
No.
would it be?
Oh, allies. And he turns and you can see, pulls out this small piece of parchment and passes it to Helia. As he does, Guntir, with your passive perception, and actually I would say, Shae, you as well, as the paper is handed over, you can see very briefly the stamped wax seal that has the sigil of the Cold Rock clan. Helia, I ran into your uncle, Grunvar, and he said to give you this. And you can all see the wax seal unbroken. Krawtic does not pry into people's affairs. Helia takes it, takes one thumb, opens the wax seal, and reads. And kind of goes over something. And you see a mixture of emotions across her face. You see a little bit of disbelief, a smile then spreads across her face, and finally she kind of looks up at Krawtic. Well, thank you very much. Just
What's
kinda
it say?
Well, Guntir, why don't we figure out what it is we're going to do? This presents us with a possible option, but it is just a bit extreme.
Well, what kind of extreme are we talking about here?
She turns and looks at Krawtic, who for a second kind of looks back and then said, "Oh, I did not read it." And you can see there's not a ton of belief on Helia's face, but she nods and then
I
says,
lean in, I'm like,
He's a bit naive.
she starts for a second and then turns back. According to my uncle, there might be another way to get to the Golden Terrace. A long time ago, apparently, there were wards beneath the Golden Terrace, built within the walls themselves. They were sealed long ago. Not much is known about them, but I would imagine a little bit quieter than the stairway.
That a lot.
Yeah, that's so extreme. That sounds kind of dope.
Yeah, I think
Well-
I have a bigger definition of extreme than you.
Yeah, that seems pretty.
That's relatively tame. As
I mean,
far
did
as,
you see what we just did? Heinrich just exploded a giant butt. You think that's tough and extreme?
You know, Morwen, for some reason I don't seem to be able to recall much of the battle.
Yeah,
Anyways.
Snap it on the job.
Indeed.
Yeah. Well, why were they sealed? Do you at least know that? Is there a potential threat that lies in there?
One would imagine they wouldn't seal off an entire ward for no reason. But it's sealed off long enough ago that it's no longer on the Ring of Silver's plans. So it is quite old.
Sounds like it might have got too high. People had to abandon them and they just, derelict.
The 1% is perhaps the most dangerous enemy there is.
Alright,
But
so...
if we can bring the war from the lower levels up, we can certainly break the seals on the top and bring out whatever's hiding in the forgotten parts.
Krawtic nods to you. You said, Heinrich, he turns his attention, that there were a resistance, fighters.
Yeah, I think we overestimated their capacity. Maybe once before, or maybe just using the name to
it
embolden
was like
others.
6 old guys.
It was
Well-
7, and it's a was,
Wow.
definitely. But
Now it's 6.
they primarily existed, it seemed, to get people to leave the city and abandon it, as if this whole place was lost already, which is kind of a disappointment, to be quite honest. But I do know that they were getting help from, I believe, this Uriel's Watch that I think you may know of.
We've heard of them. Yes,
Right.
they're unknown to the Xinyi. They arrived some years ago.
And I believe that is who was helping them in terms of the once they got to the edge or outside of Kol Taram, where to go. So that's interesting in a way that it's connected to a lot bigger things.
It also would suggest, Heinrich, that there is a way out of the Ring of Silver.
Well, certainly. And there's ways in and out that we've discovered through just the walls themselves, built by presumably same people who built this abandoned area of the Ring of Gold. Maybe, I don't know, but if we needed to get out, that would actually maybe be a good idea to find out those too. I'm just still torn over, is it, like, if this whole concept of the end of the world that we seem to always forget is actually true, and the signs are starting to appear, this dragon being one of them, and the crystal shard that it used to possess, or did possess, or is the reason why it's here, it doesn't sit well with me to just abandon this city to a dragon
We
that's
can't.
related to that. So we have to figure out a way to get rid of her, him, whatever.
You can see Helia with now kind of still with the paper tucked away into the kind of red and then strung together vest that goes over the leather armor. You can see like her hands still touching the edges of the parchment. Well, Heinrich, you said yourself, the resistance. It's moving people out.
It's not much of a resistance either. It's like,
Yeah, exactly.
again, 6 old people.
My
Should
point
call it
exactly.
the giving in, not the resistance.
Have we considered, perhaps, that the city is beyond saving, but the dragon is not beyond defeating?
Not much is definitely. If that were easy to do, but unfortunately she seems to wield an entire city against us.
My point exactly. Heinrich, you were up there as well. You saw how the members of the Ring of Gold were treated. As the entirety of Kol Taram burns, they walk around as if nothing happens. They're bought and paid for. This is a ticket that they punched. If there is a space open beneath the Golden Terrace, if it's large enough, collapse it.
Yeah, I like it.
What Gunter's thinking, like, what could they be building this big arch for? That Krawtic told us about.
Just with the description, like a verbal description, it would be tough to tell. Either I would say make an Arcana check. Or, given how old you are, you can make a history check as well. Either one, and they'll yield different results.
Okay, I'm gonna do
Krawtic.
history. That is a. Is that a 15 plus? Yeah, 17.
Yes, Sky Sister.
When you have a moment, I'm interested in the translations you got.
Of course. Gunter, and he begins to kind of move towards the ground, and you see it begins to draw a shape. Or you said translation, so hang on one sec, I'll give you that. You said 16 now?
17.
17. Is that history or Arcana?
History.
History. So with a 17 in history, and 10, I believe we're frozen again. The exact reason for this, kind of hard to imagine. A giant archway is a giant door, more people can travel through it. There's a few things that could potentially use it for, but the fact that it bisects 3 different floors, the furniture hasn't been moved, the people haven't been moved. Remember that Krawtic did mention there were glyphs and things, and so your mind might go to maybe like a summoning spell of some kind.
Yeah, nothing good. It's not for us.
Yeah, that bit of information seems most disconcerting to Gunter.
Sure.
Of all
Shae,
the news.
Yes.
Krawtic kind of straightens up a little bit, and you see his eyes close. And he seems to be almost reading from memory. Walk along a river in the sky until you come to a trunk whose branches rise above. Old paths are safer. Old paths are quieter, except where the metal men tread. The sun rises with them. O terrible dawn, but on the other horizon lay a string for the harp. Shae, I recognize the warnings implicit, but not the directions. Do you?
Immediately offhand, no. but let me think on it.
Alrighty. Shae, go ahead and make an intelligence check. You think on it.
That is a 17.
17, okay. With a 17, thinking about what he said, the only thing that really comes to you, aside from "Oh, terrible dawn," which you are sure has an unfortunate meaning, you think about walking along a river in the sky, and you thinking a little bit less from a terrestrial standpoint and more broadly, you would imagine from above, from either a flying or otherwise acrobatically inclined individual might take a different path. The bronze serpent from above would look an awful lot like a stream snaking through the mountain of Kol Taram. But what does that mean until you come to a trunk whose branches rise above? That part, unclear.
Okay.
Well, regardless, I feel like nothing has really changed. We still have to do the things.
But Guntir,
Krawtic.
but Guntir, Helia says, what has changed is we have options.
Yeah. None of them are very good, though.
Why don't we check out this empty space beneath the circle of gold? That stuck with me as the best option to deal a severe blow to the top.
Understand, it's not an empty space below the ring of gold. It's an empty space below the Golden Terrace itself. Think back to when we were up there. Do you remember the huge staircase that ascended, itself chased in gold, up the vertical side of the cliff into the beautiful terrace above? This space must exist behind those stairs, or otherwise embedded into the wall of the mountain. So what do you guys think?
I don't like it.
I think what Krawtic thinks.
Does Morwen say that? Krawtic turns and kind of looks to all of you. Well, you said that you were just in a fight. So are you all in a condition to travel and potentially do so again? Or do we need to rest?
And I grab his arm.
Okay, you grab his arm.
I could probably take a moment to recover a little, although I think I'm looking over at Helia and then nodding over at Guntir. I think the two of them might benefit a little more from actually resting.
Turns and kind of regards you, Guntir. And then turns and looks at Helia. Well, I have not fought, so I can stand guard.
Keep an eye on that area that we were down on before, if you could.
It is something that I am suited for. Now he kind of straightens up the wings for a second, and then he steps through the door and out. And there's a final, and the feathers kind of disappear as he takes off, and you would presume land up on the ceiling and begin looking over the edge towards lower safe quarter where you came from. So, Krawtic is gone, now keeping watch. You guys are taking a short or long rest?
Well, if we have someone keeping watch, maybe we should just take it long.
So it's more.
No reason.
Yeah, I want to. but
Strictly
it's-
for in-game, mechanics purposes, I'm sure.
Yeah.
She's just
Story-wise, it
how
doesn't.
tired she was.
From all the looting. Oh dear.
His fingers are tired. So, which do you guys want to take?
Take the long rest.
Long?
Oh yeah.
Morwen lays down for just a cat nap and then passes out for 8 hours.
Okay. Perfect.
Real Morwen often does.
Yeah.
I do want to ask in terms of time in the game. When was the last time we did do a long rest? Were we in the Gibbet Society, or was it even before that?
I think it's been a bit.
It was before that. So you guys, I would say Heinrich, make an intelligence check
Yeah.
as you consider this.
Oh, 18.
Ooh,
18.
you saw it.
No, I rolled a 17.
Oh, no, it's- so with the 17, you would imagine kind of thinking about your rest, which was short within the Gibbon Hall Society, talking to Falron, going across the Bronze Serpent over to find the Resistance, engaging in battle, coming up here. You would imagine it is probably around 7 p.m. The last time that you guys took a rest, you guys awoke right around like 3 in the morning. So you guys have been up for close to a day.
Okay, so then I feel better about this canonically. I'm cool with it.
Yep.
Okay. So long rest?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So Krawtic has already agreed to kind of take watch for the first part. Heinrich, you're awake, and so I think the group kind of generally expects you to be awake anyways. For everybody else, is there anything that you wish to do during this long rest, or are you bedding down for the night?
Already passed out.
Already passed out. Morwen just on the ground asleep.
Not during this rest, no.
Excellent.
I'm gonna go up and have a chat with Krawtic
Okay.
at some point.
Go ahead and make an athletics check because you are climbing a
Oh
two-story.
yeah, he's all the way up. All right, Guntir can manage. Oh, nice. That's actually an 18.
Okay, so it takes Guntir about close to half an hour, I'm gonna say, for you to climb 2 stories onto a roof. It involves a lot of you trying to get up somewhere, not being able to do it, and then kind of getting bricks from the pile of rubble and making a little bit of a impromptu step stool. But you eventually make your way up to the roof. You can see Krawtic. You get like about 6 feet to the actual roof line, and then Krawtic comes over and helps you up the rest of the way. But you make your way up to the roof. Hello, Campfire Quest. Thank you very much for the raid. I did want to say, because Campfire Quest does raid us all the time, and I'm never prepared, really quick. Hello to Jason, Tristan, Parker, Kayla, Grant, Cameron, who of course play. Jason runs Campfire Quest. He is the Dungeon Master. He is the Professinator who you see in chat sometimes. Tristan plays, and this is the one name that I'm going to murder because it's an Aasimir name. It's Aasimir Warlock named Zephaniah. Tell me if I'm wrong on that. Parker plays Janny Tammy, an Orc Druid. Kayla is the Tiefling Bard Angel, who he himself is angelic, I guess. Grant plays Monolith, the Earth Genasi, and then Cameron plays, and I forget, so I know it's a hybrid artificer, I can't really remember. It's Erda, and then there's like a smaller component. But for all of you guys, if you're looking for another show to watch, Campfire Quest, awesome thing. Really wholesome people, super awesome people. Check them out if you haven't already. Guntir, you get to the roof. With Krawtic's help, he lifts you up. Guntir, why did you climb to the top of this building?
Figured you could use some company.
I could have
keep and watch. I'm already up there. So,
Welcome.
anything good up here?
Come. And he turns, and you can see as where he is actually walking, there are no footsteps. He steps incredibly softly. His
I'm
feet.
gonna consciously try to mimic it.
Make a sleight of hand check. You can see very softly kind of padding through. What is yours?
13.
For you step very quietly. There's still very, very distinctly slipper marks, not shuffle skids, but slipper marks in the hatch. But you walk over to the side and you look down. You can see from this vantage point nearly 90 feet, almost 100 feet up. There's lower safe water. You see the courtyard covered in ash. Almost looks, now the giant having been there for a little bit, almost looks like maybe like a wood pile or something, were it not for the violently violet skin that still in places kind of shines out through the not quite opaque parts of this ash. But you he is slowly being covered. You would imagine in maybe another couple of hours, almost impossible to see without investigation. You look across and it is fairly quiet, although hard to see. Are you looking for anything in particular?
No, just anything on the horizon.
Alrighty. Make a perception check.
That's a 16.
16? Okay. You take some time and look around. It's fairly quiet. Given the time of night, you'd imagine probably not any large-scale activity. Here and there, you hear rocks crumbling down. Hard to tell if it's just bits of burning ruins that are finally succumbing to the heat or if it's footsteps through a street somewhere. But you wait and you listen. And as far as you can tell, nothing around.
So, what do you think?
About.
The city. You saw it for yourself. What do you think?
It is hard to see through the soot and the ash, but at one time, for some, I imagine this was a great city. For me, not having the sky overhead is a terrible burden on my heart.
Yeah. Yeah, this place is pretty dreadful, huh?
Tell me, Guntir, Falren said that your people and his people, they left the mountains. What does he mean?
I don't really know. You know, I don't know much about my people.
Make a deception check.
Well, I don't really, right?
I mean, you know some things about your people that you have not shared.
I guess that's true. 7.
Okay. You see the head very hawk-like turns, almost violently for a second. The eye regards you, and you feel Krawtic looking through this very, very thin lie.
I'm like not trying to lie to him.
Well, even the brightest statue has pockets of shadow. Good.
Well, I don't know. I don't like this idea of collapse in the city.
I don't believe that Helia means to collapse the entire thing. Merely the Terrace of Gold, or the Golden Terrace.
There's still a lot of people there, though.
Guntir,
Hmm.
are you afraid to kill?
No. Not afraid to kill. You see me, I kill everyone. That's not it.
He turns again.
I've been thinking. You know, everywhere I go, people just die around me. And it's too much. I don't want it to happen anymore.
You can see he looks down for a second, both eyes seeming to kind of scan again the street, and then he returns his gaze to you. Living for a long time is both an honor and a burden. There are those amongst the Xinyi that have lived even longer than you, Guntir. Master Gamble, for instance. He hasn't told me much, not as much as Shae. Shae was always, I think, a favorite child of his. But I know enough to know. He seems to kind of regard this for a bit more. Oh. If I jump, it's because Sirenscape suddenly leaves Discord and it makes a sound and it scares me a little bit. Like me personally, I get scared. But he turns and kind of regards you one more time. I think the reason for your longevity has not yet come to light.
Yeah. Well, I guess you're right, but
Bound to happen sooner or later, right?
Guntir,
Yeah.
what is it that you fight for?
I don't even know anymore. You know? And I think that's what it is. And that's my focus.
It would be hard to find a path without a destination.
Yeah. All this stuff about paths, and it's not as clear cut as you make it seem.
If we make it seem clear cut, it is only because within our language there is more degrees of subtlety. Common is a bit less elegant.
Yeah. Well, I guess I gotta find out what I'm fighting for now.
Well, Guntir, for what it's worth, I hope your destination becomes clear soon.
Yeah. Well, thanks, buddy. It's good to have you back.
And give him a slap on the back.
Doesn't move at all. He's solidly built, but he turns, and you can see, kind of look. That's not like a Xinyi thing. That's weird. So he kind of turns, and then
He's like, "Did you just hit me?"
Roll for
just
initiative.
gently pats you on the back as well. Thank you, Guntir.
Alright, well, I'm gonna go get some sleep, I guess.
Start like
Guntir, and he goes and helps you down so that you do not need to take a half an hour to climb down or fall or die. So, in these strong arms, he gently lowers you to the ground.
can be your hero, babe.
The platinum hair just flowing with like the little bits of ash going down.
He's just cradling me like a little baby.
You're
You
so
can take your
looking
breath
forward
away.
to watching this.
Yeah.
Morwen in her sleep, the claws just come out.
I'd feel betrayed by both parties.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, you slept with Guntir for so long. So,
I think it's the first time I haven't.
I'll go snuggle up now. I'll use you as a pillow or something. Like, find a nice
I
little
like
spot.
to think this isn't just one-sided.
yeah.
I'm
So,
like, it's all rocks everywhere. So I kind of like bunch up a bit of fur on your back and just like, pillow.
as you lay your head down, you hear just very gentle purrs. But for all of you can mark off a long rest. For you, Heinrich, is there anything that you're doing over? You can mark off a long rest as well. Do you have anything that you would like to do? You are awake for these 8 hours, so light activity.
Just chilling.
I mean, it's tough because I
Yeah.
want to ask questions, but now with all this new information, I have no idea what to ask other than, like, you know what? Okay, I think I got one. I think I would open up the book and ask the question, where exactly is the line between the needs of the many and the needs of the few?
Okay. So you take some time in Celestial.
Like,
That's
hold.
deep as hell.
I'm trying to basically know if this moving forward with this idea would piss off Helm, if not at least the demigod or planar guy.
whoever it is that is your patron. Okay, so you take a little bit of time, again, kind of looking through the book and finding bits of Celestial and transcribing it into the page. And as you spell out your question, you can see each glyph in turn sink almost through, as if through water into the page, becoming faded and then disappearing before it seems almost to shimmer back, changed. You submit the question, where do you draw the line between the needs of the many and the needs of the few? And in response, you receive in Celestial a vigilant gaze focuses on that which can do harm. We are not saviors. That's all.
That was one question, and I got my answer, and I don't want to use another one yet. So, because I have only 3, I think, right? That's what it was.
3 per day. So you
Yeah.
use the book.
Okay. I think I got my answer. I
Okay.
feel a little okay about this plan.
Okay. So 8 hours goes by, and right around, well, you guys wouldn't really know the time, but for my own personal mental well-being, right around 3 a.m., although it is just as dark within the hollowed-out mountain that is Kol Taram, you one by one begin to come to Heinrich, you seeing each of your companions in turn waking up. But before too long, you all come to rest. I would imagine Shae doing monkey business,
Mm-hmm.
Guntir doing your stretching routine.
Yeah, I'm gonna do my newly modified stretching routine.
Okay. Newly modified in what way?
I'm gonna do like 10 extra push-ups.
Okay. Yeah. So go ahead, make an athletics check for me. That's a lot of extra push-ups for a 287-year-old dwarf who does not take great care of himself.
I'm gonna sit on his back while he does it. No, I'm just kidding.
I was gonna
Nice.
say
That's an 18.
Okay. So Guntir, you come to a little bit before Morwen.
Start with the
Morwen,
normal stretches, you know.
Yeah, you
Kinda
do.
limber up.
you see Morwen kind of just shifting and moving in her sleep. The yellow pajamas with the pink smiley faces just kind of shifting through. And as you get down, you start to do push-ups. Morwen, you come to, and you come to just, you see this platinum beard kind of stretched out to the ground. And then it just kind of accordions as Guntir goes down, sweat dripping down his forehead, making the light platinum blonde hair kind of soaked dark with sweat. But you can see he looks like he's been doing push-ups for like days, and you just hear 5, and he goes through, eventually getting to 10. But Guntir, you feel pretty warmed up. You're like kind of tired now, just about ready for another long rest. But the rest of you come to.
Nice.
You find yourself again within this dark, semi-ruined, mostly intact house. There are elements of the wall that have been broken in, and the door itself. All the doors were open when you entered. You are awake within the former pet shop or butchery that was the Predator and Prey. What do you guys want to do? And for what it's worth, you are all now level 11.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Only took 16 months.
Hey.
It's fine.
That's pretty good, though. I mean, that's pretty good. That's about what it takes.
Playing it from very low after this.
I'm doing next campaign. We're doing milestone, by the way. That's
Yeah, the math EXP is definitely not in favor of a non-combative group like us.
yeah. Well, and beyond even that, it's just going to be easier to keep track of. But you all come to wake. You have some rough ideas as to what you want to do, but is there a plan that you guys have that you'd like to execute? What is it that you want to do?
Go ahead.
I'm gonna go check on Krawtic and make
Okay.
sure he didn't run away because it's been so long.
As you wake up, you see Gunter's sweaty face, and you kind of look away and look around. You see Shae kind of warming up. You don't see Krawtic with Shae. You don't see Krawtic kind of with Heinrich, who doesn't look as if he's slept, but looks just as fresh. And there's this brief moment of panic until you realize kind of over in the corner you can see nestled into the wall and almost invisible in the place that he's set up. Still sleeping, just barely coming to because he did stay up a little bit late for that first shift of the watch. Krawtic.
Not out of my pajamas.
Okay, so you say "ta-da," and the pink smiley faces shift into actual metal bolts, and suddenly you are wearing just glamored leather armor.
Alright, I'm gonna go over and just be like, good morning. Did you miss me?
You can see the eyes like shoot open as you talk.
And I'm like right there.
Yeah. He doesn't recoil for what it's worth, but he does smile after a moment. You can see it's almost like his brain has to like kickstart. His body fully awake, ready to go. It takes his mind just a second to catch on, but he nods to you. Good morning, Morwen.
To do. So
Okay, so you guys awkwardly hang out. For the rest of the group, what do you guys want to do?
I want to talk to Helia about this empty space and how we can at least access it and check it out.
Okay, so you walk over to Helia. She turns. She looks a lot better. You can see she looks parts of her wounds that had been kind of not soldered, cauterized shut with the lightning of Guntir's healing ability. The blackness has kind of fallen away, and you just see fresh pink baby skin underneath. You can see she's standing upright. She seems a little bit more energetic. But she turns. Sorry, what was your question? I just woke up.
Please don't worry about it. When you're ready, I'd like to discuss this forgotten empty space and potentially start working on a plan to at least investigate it.
In my experience, oftentimes, if there are things like this left alone for a very long time, they're not always empty. But, to be certain, a quieter space. I would imagine we may need to find somebody on the Ring of Gold who knows their way around a bit more and persuade them to help us.
Find this letter of yours. Is there a contact or something up there, or what's the deal?
I'm not sure how I can reinforce this a bit more, but I'm from the Undercity, not Kol Taram.
I know, but how did a note that came from the Undercity inform you of this?
Ow. And she fishes out this little scrap of parchment. Grunvar, who I believe you met, my uncle, the one who we've traveled for a bit now, maybe to paint pictures a little bit clearer for you. He's not exactly ingratiated to my father at the moment, and I would imagine trying to redeem himself a bit in his eyes by rescuing me. For all of his faults and all of his gambling, Grunvar is and was a good student. He knows a bit more about the city than most. He knew about the rat tunnels. He knew about the hidden ward. I would imagine if we get to talk to him again, he knows even more than he's let on to me. But if
Want to maybe... That's so far away? Okay.
if you're one to want to find out a bit more about this location before we go, there must be some way in which we can research it. Records, perhaps. Have you seen a library or a bookstore or anything like a public building?
If you were with us, you would also know just as well as I believe, other than the Gibbet Society. Not many left standing, it seems. Have we passed one? Would I be able to recall any of that?
Make an intelligence check.
Yeah, I mean, because that's literally the only way that I could... Because I know for sure you haven't yet really described explicitly town hall record area. Well, that's not going to work for a 5, so...
For a 5, you think about it and you really think back. You shift. You have the haversack with you, right?
Yeah.
You kind of shift it on your back and feel it bump into you, and you think for a little bit about it, but you don't remember passing. You remember the Gibbon Hall Society. I mean, you've seen grand buildings, but within Safe Quarter, it's a very wealthy neighborhood. So you haven't seen anything that stands out in that way.
Yeah. Well, if you can think of anything, Helia, I'm gonna spend some time and think about it too.
Well, I appreciate the vote of confidence, but I've never really spent a lot of time in libraries. More of Grunvar's specialty. I'm quick with my hands, but not maybe as much in pulling information out of tomes.
let's Immediately at this moment, I got nothing else. I'm literally just gonna go look through anything in my bag to see if I can find stuff that I've taken that I have that could be somehow helpful.
Sure. So you reach through the bag and you pull out trinkets and baubles. You begin pulling out this massive, it takes you a second, but this gold band from the giant.
Well, I can move things around without having to take them.
Okay, fair enough. But I mean, you shift through the gold band, you shift through the bowl that you were given from the lore binders. You can see little trinkets from throughout your adventures. There's little Protego protrusions. I think you have 7 left. I know you gave some out.
Yep.
There's a variety of items. It's just hard to tell what might be helpful.
I know. I suppose I would actually... The bowl, actually. God, what was his name all the way back at the Lorebinder Academy?
I think Heinrich would remember that it's Boron.
Boron, that's right.
Lorebinder.
Borax, but that's just not right.
That's
I feel like that's what I would do then. I would kind of reach out to him and update. I mean, I haven't felt him call us either, to be fair, right?
No, and as you take out the bowl, you can see it is still simple, kind of stone with beautiful golden sort of scroll work that has been worked into it to create these runes within the rock itself. It does not pulse with that faint light that means that there is essentially like a missed call. There's no voicemail light on. You press a rune and a voice comes out. You have no missed messages.
And then I frown and throw it.
But it is a Nokia bowl and does not break. Not a sponsor. So you take out the bowl and you don't see any kind of pulsing light that would indicate that this is a missed call. And so you very easily with your decanter or any other kind of water source, you fill it with water and you concentrate and imagine Boron, the massive Goliath who seemed to almost swell and stretch the material of these simple lorebinder robes, this academy of learned scholars who this huge being is very proud to be a part of. You can see the water begins to faintly glow, and suddenly it becomes opaque with this shimmering light, and ripples spread throughout. And as they focus, you can see, again, a very tired Lore Master Boron. The eyes of this kind of almost blue-gray skinned Goliath, even darker underneath with bags. He turns and you can see him squint through. Heinrich, it has been a long time. Is there a reason that you only call between the hours of 2 and 5?
Well, yes, the reason for that is there's no sky here, so I forgot what time it was. My bad.
Again, I forgot. You are within Kol Taram. How goes your mission there?
It is probably the most confusing, non-linear act of my entire life, and for that, I am lost. But some new information came to light, and I do have a question that collectors of knowledge such as yourself might be able to help me with. We have reason to believe that there might be an older sort of underneath the Golden Terrace at the very top of Kol Taram. There might be an empty space, like an old sequestered away lodgings or just open empty space. Do you know if there's any records of the city's construction or anything like that? Or do you even know about this specifically yourself?
I do. Odd that you should bring it up. When we were looking through for evidence of things related to your star, there are suggestions that one of these sites at which you could deposit a shard of Aurelian exists close to you, not underneath Kol Taram perhaps. But in uncovering and looking for ancient structures, we did come across a number of hidden things. Where within Kol Taram are you looking?
Terrace, the Ring of Gold.
The most famous example.
Ah, convenient.
It's Denman's Ward. There was once within Kol Taram an artificer, Denman, whose clan name was struck from the records. He built real creatures, not warforged, not clockwork machinations of a gnome or anything of that nature. These are real beings with elemental fire running through their veins. Odd machines. They ran amok through Kol Taram and were sealed within that ward as they could not immediately be dealt with. That was nearly 700 years ago. I would imagine anything that I could imagine. Although, those dwarves are known for building things that can work for centuries unmanned. 700 years, even for that, is a long time.
Oh, you would love this golem we found.
Would I?
I think so. If that type of thing piques your curiosity, certainly this. Well, that's the thing. That's a story for after, I suppose. Maybe it's related. I'm not sure.
You do have my interest piqued.
Yeah. So I found. Well, Guntir actually, and Morwen found this golem that seemed to operate on minerals, or at least would be able to change its constitution based on what mineral was inserted into its coin slot. That's not an innuendo. I know it sounded horrible, but
In many cultures, that is a euphemism
but
for the crack above the buttocks.
correct. Yes, and no, that is not what it was. Although it was above, much higher, where its butt would be, I suppose. But regardless, these large discs of minerals were. We used them to insert, and it changed its function more or less. It would always bind to the person it first connected or saw, and then follow their commands mentally, and blah blah blah. But it's fascinating. Don't know who made it. Don't know.
The properties that you speak of are, if they work the way that you do, very interesting. Golems do tend to bind in that manner, although not always. But you said you were able to feed something to it. Do you have it in your possession?
We know where it is. We unfortunately had some damage befell it, and it went inert. However, Guntir assures us through the book that we found that operates like instructions that it should recover shortly, and we'll be going to collect it again. It was too heavy for us to move at the time, and we needed to keep moving.
When you say that, you can see even a little bit more excitement in his eyes. And for him, he is a very reserved person, for a Goliath especially. You remember him saying he does take a lot of pride in defying what is sort of the stereotype of a Goliath. But you can see he even gets a little bit more excited, and he says, Heinrich, if you would be able to retrieve that, I understand that your mission and purpose is paramount and important, and do not let this distract you. But should you be able to bring that back, I would be most interested to see it.
Of course. Hopefully this would be a companion of ours that we would keep around once we go back and retrieve it.
If you could allow us to document such a thing, and it is indeed as advanced or as arcane as you say, perhaps allowances can be made for deeper access within the Academy.
It's nice. I like that.
He nods a little bit. I thought you would.
Yeah. Okay. That's great to know, and I'm happy that you found that interesting. But back to the now kind of troublesome nature of this sealed off part of the city. You were saying that nothing that was constructed over 700 years ago would probably be alive anymore in there, right?
That would be my assumption. Machinery breaks down over time,
Right.
even arcane.
Say they were still to be around. No, I have my own thoughts about that. Never mind. It would probably be quite unfortunate for anyone in the immediate vicinity should some raging ancient creatures come bursting out from an unknown hiding spot.
That
But-
seems to be fairly obvious, yes.
Cool. Okay, good to know. Was there any other information, access points or anything like that weren't just getting to it from the Ring of Gold? See, that's where the dragon seems to hang out, and we can't quite easily get there.
Indeed. There is a section of this wall which is not as it appears. It was sealed off very effectively, save two entrances. One closer to the terrace, and one at the base of the Ring of Gold.
Not the base. What? Do you know more?
That is all that I know offhand. It is early, but give me some time and perhaps I could find more if you wish.
Please, that would be very, very helpful and much appreciated. I would put even double the effort to get the golem back for you to see it with your own eyes. It is quite something, I guarantee you that.
He nods a little bit, and you can see he stretches, and the perspective that you're getting from the bowl shifts a little bit, and you can tell he's kind of standing up. I will tell you, Heinrich, I do not enjoy being disturbed at an early hour, but if I am, this is a good reason.
Good, good. Oh, this reminds me randomly. One last thing, laying eyes, more specifically. Does this, and I'm like rummaging around the backpack, trying to find the piece of paper with the drawing that was left on the table where we saw, Illuktime.
Sure. You pull out that piece of paper.
Does this look familiar? And I hold it up kind of like the awkward face. I'm like, can you see it? I can't see it. Can you see
Yeah.
it?
Kind of looking over, you can see Boron. He says, "No, just lower it. No, up a little bit more over your head." Eventually, you guys are able to kind of get it through the bowl so that you can see, or that he can see. He peers it and he says, "I do not know this location, but that actually, whatever device that is, it is old. The construction seems to be..." It's like trying to peer through. It is hard to tell through the bowl, through a drawing. Give me some time to think about a way to get that here.
I'll
You
do
said
the
you're within Kol Taram.
Correct, yes. We are currently somewhere in Kol Taram. I don't know exactly where at the time.
Have you seen nearby any kind of teleportation circle? Are you aware of these?
Oh, how secure is this line?
He kind of turns his head at that.
Should the dragon be prying in, could it intercept this communication we're having? My
That
paranoia runs a little deep.
A good point. I do not know. And so perhaps we should be wary of what it is that we say.
That's where I drew the line at, oops, I don't know where I am. I hope they didn't hear the thing about the entrances. Okay,
Give me some time, and I will see what more I can uncover.
okay. Certainly, I'll keep a... I don't know how to describe keeping my mind on this bowl so that I'll listen or feel for your message.
I'll be in touch, Heinrich. And the bowl shimmers, and the water just returns.
And then I drink it because I'm thirsty.
It's
I have
kind of...
berries.
It's like room temp.
It's like
Drinking
boron.
water from the decanter, so...
I mean, the water itself is clean. The bowl has canonically been used for dining multiple times, and so there's like little bits of like dried rice and stuff here and there. Nothing like gross. But you pick it out, no problem. Drink the water. You all now are awake. You spoke to Lore Master Boron. He has given you this information. I don't know if you're relaying it to other people or if you're doing that in private.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see.
Okay. So you guys find yourselves now awake, a little bit more whole and recovered. What do you want to do?
I want to share that information with everyone.
Okay. After carefully considering it, Heinrich shares with all of you.
The only person I might withhold it from would be Helia, but also, like, I trust her. It's more withhold it from her to withhold it from her
Sure.
uncle or whatever, but, like, at this point, that's just local politics. We're moving on after we kill the dragon.
Okay.
Yeah, so what do you guys think? Potentially at the base of the Ring of Gold, if we could get there and trace along the whole thing. try to find an entrance. That's possibly one thing. The other part being, definitely want to bring the golem with us, but that would be difficult to do without being noticed.
So you relay all the information that you were just given?
Mostly pertaining just to, like, the fact that this place exists, it's documented, it used to have the artificer who made, like, elemental machinations by his description. And
Krawtic, as you explain all of this, you can see Krawtic, he shifts around, and generally he's a pretty still creature when he's not really moving, but you can see almost this kind of agitation to him, and as you end your sentence, he turns to you, Shae, and he says, Shae,
Yes.
the words, and he closes his eyes again. Old paths are safer, old paths are quieter, except where the middlemen tread.
Yes.
Does that match what your lorebinder told you?
he kept saying machines, and metal and machine seems to,
Does any of this, like, ring any bells to anything that Guntir might have heard about? Or, like, anything from the book in the Golem handbook?
Nothing from the
Like,
Golem.
looking-
What I would say is you could make a history check. It's highly unlikely that you know anything about this, but your people did have a very brief foray
19.
into this territory. Okay, but that's the total roll?
Yeah. It was a 17 plus 2.
You think about some of the things that you've heard about, and specifically you think back to Port Quinn. You remember seeing the Clockwork Undead, those assembled souls of clockwork machination and skeletons combined into these horrifying undead and yet still mechanical beings. Metal creatures can come in many shapes and sizes. You've seen probably in your time, definitely in your time actually, because the Alchemy Association employs several, you've seen Warforged. You've seen a number of different mechanical-esque warriors, and so certainly not outside of your experience, but with the limited information you have from Heinrich and from Krawtic, nothing comes to mind that is immediately obvious.
Yeah, I got nothing.
well, the second thought that I had was if it's not for us to go in necessarily and hide, you know, you were saying this path thing in the writings about safe places, it may not be bad that it's connected directly to where we attempt to lay siege and is filled with dangerous creatures. I'd imagine if we turned them loose, the dragon would have a tough time dealing with that.
I feel that is the smarter course of action rather than trying to sneak through.
I agree with this as well, though now, with you saying that, Heinrich, you said we could walk along the side of the wall and look for this doorway.
Be one of the two entrances that the lore master mentioned. The
Krawtic,
first
see
one
you
was the
again,
one-
Shae.
and the second one was the one based, like, probably where Helia meant the underneath the stairs, more or less. But that's kind of in plain sight and a pretty dangerous straight run at it.
You can see Krawtic seems to be thinking, and he says, Heinrich, do you remember those words that I said before?
Some of them, yeah.
They were left for us by those who are both Xinyi and not. And I can tell that they are directions and a warning, although I could not discern the nature. It is possible that representatives of the Xinyi have discovered this place as well. And if so,
About Shae's, as Guntir so lovingly calls it, her friend with darker clothes or whatever.
Make no mistake, they are not friends. Not
This I
anymore.
know. I couldn't remember how to call them, but it was your relative, I think, or someone like that.
Something like that.
Frenemy.
Either way.
Let's hope that he is not here.
But their presence, regardless, would indicate an additional obstacle. It is something that we should be extremely wary of.
It
The Kind Scale is dangerous,
complicates things enormously.
as you say.
They would not be on the dragon's side by my, I don't know, reaction on the way you described them.
Not necessarily on the dragon side, but they're certainly not on ours.
Right.
It is a further complication and something to consider. But my point was more, if these are directions, do the words. Walk along a river in the sky until you come to a trunk whose branches rise above. Within this code, those lines should be the directions.
That's a description that's literal. So something. Closest thing to a river in this city, don't know, and then something about a tree, tall
We
building, or a
Should check
forge
out
or-
the bronze serpent. I feel it has some connection to this.
What is the bronze serpent?
Should we check out this hole before we go? Because that was kind of the whole point of going over there and that dude dying.
Pun.
About it.
Then what are you guys going to do about the whole point?
Yeah, I want to check out the hole.
I do want to honor his memory by looking at the hole.
Sure. You're going to take a gander at his hole.
Literally nothing.
We can
Okay.
look, though I would be wary of committing if we cannot find an exit strategy.
Of course. Absolutely. I am more quick to abandon this whole prison break concept and just go unleash hell demons on the dragon and try to plan a heist. I don't think we're going to be quite good at that.
So are you guys going to all as a group go down to the hole?
If no one else wants to go, I can just go by myself. That's totally fine.
I want to look at the hole.
Heinrich, I, perhaps through personal experience, it may be better to stay as a group.
That's true, huh? We did leave a mess back there, and apparently someone escaped because they weren't all killed, even though I thought they were. But yeah.
I will accompany you, though I don't think I will descend.
There. Keep watch. It's a better idea. Absolutely.
Oh, are we
I
going
will
in the
keep
hole?
watch as well.
Well, just to open the door at the bottom and just see what's in it.
Yeah, let's look at the hole. I want to
Okay.
look at the hole. I'm going to start walking
So-
towards the hole.
As a group, you guys exit Predator and Prey, this weird kind of shop full of cages, and you make your way through the ash-strewn streets and down the stairs again into lower safe quarter. You progress across this courtyard. Oh yeah, go ahead.
All these cages were empty, right?
You didn't look especially closely, but yeah, they seemed it.
Nothing.
You guys walk down and across this courtyard, your feet again disturbing the ash, although you're noticing now, as you have your footfall, there is a soft, almost shifting. It's getting fairly deep. There's about like 1.5 inches of ash settled across everything here. There are places where it does seem to kind of drift, and now Jotun, the giant's corpse, completely covered. There is no violet flashes going through. You cannot see the skin of this cloud giant. You get to the area that you guys know is the hole, and Guntir, you realize in using the mending spell, the artificial kind of wood-like bricks are now very much blended into the real bricks. And given that everything is covered in ash, you realize you don't really remember where the hole begins. So what do you want to do with that information?
Uh,
Start knocking, right? Can't you just like...
Sure, go ahead and make a perception check. You guys see Morwen kind of shrink down
Ooh.
to the
I'm
ground.
gonna be like, oh, let me give you a hand with that guidance.
I missed it.
It's been so long.
It's been so long.
Okay.
Guidance.
I know.
Guidance.
17.
17. You get down and you knock, and the first couple of times it is just this kind of soft of hitting this ash and it compressing into the bricks. And then there's a moment where you hear below just a little bit more of a resonance. And you found the corner. easy enough. You kind of get your paws and get the claws in. The brick itself has sealed into each other because of the mending. So it is very well sealed. However, if you guys want to take, 20 minutes, kind of chip away at it a little bit, you guys can pull out a section that's large enough to fit into. No problem.
For sure.
Okay. Take a little time. You pull brick by brick away, ruining Gunter's beautiful work, but ultimately creating a hole about 10 feet wide. And you can see it is just a little bit shifted to the side of where those rungs had been implanted into the stone. So without any trouble whatsoever, who is descending this? Okay. You begin to descend down. Here and there, your hands come away from the ladder a little bit tacky, and you look, and there are just the final remnants of Jotun kind of sprayed across. But you easy enough rope it off and get down. It's butt stuff. You get to the bottom. You can see to the side there is what looks like a hatch. This kind of like a metal wheel that is straight down on the ground. You would imagine twisting it and pulling it away would reveal a hole beneath.
Quietly as I can, or if anyone else can help me do it quietly.
Sure. Just testing it, you turn it a little bit, and it lets out a very, very high-pitched, and that's almost inaudible, but you kind of like flinch a little bit. It is like not quite nails on chalkboard, but just this high squeak. And then as you turn it again, the sound kind of disappears, and it turns fairly quietly. This is metal that is fairly clean. It hasn't corroded. And you even feel like a hint of maybe grease or oil on it. The resistance members who built this took very good care of it. And you open the hatch. It's heavy, maybe about 50 pounds, but you haul it open. And as you do, there is this kind of gust of wind, a little cooler, and it strikes you in the face, and you have to kind of look away. But as you look down, you can see the smoke a little bit less thick than the Ring of Silver. There isn't quite the same burning that's happening. This is a place that fell a little sooner, and so the fighting here largely over. The area that you're looking into, you actually recognize bits and pieces, but below you directly, you can see there is the sort of sprawling prisonscape of the Halls of Atonement. You see these big structures that rise up. They seem to be about 200 feet below you. Is this first almost landing directly below you? You see it's like an L-shaped landing, very broad, maybe 45 feet wide. It's the edge of maybe the 4th or 5th floor of the structure, hard to tell. But on either end of this landing, there's a large doorway. And though it looks very unsafe, you could imagine you could go from one to the other along this kind of pathway. That seems to be where the Resistance was thinking about landing, given as it is directly beneath. You can see from this height, I would say, Heinrich, go ahead and make a perception check.
18.
That was 18?
Yep, 18.
Okay. With an 18, you see... Okay, so first you look down and you can see the Halls of Atonement. You see there's two large, like 2-story structures in opposite corners, and they have almost like courtyards. And looking at the window structures of them, these are barred windows. These are almost like cell blocks, and you can see they seem to be about 2 stories. There's a huge low-to-the-ground onyx building in the middle, and you remember this being kind of the Black Halls. This is like where all the most dangerous people were kept when Kol Taram was using this as a proper prison. But directly below you is this multi-tiered legislate building. You do, as your eyes adjust, see here and there a few people like ants, save a few. You do pick out doors kind of swing open. In the northeasternmost corner, there's this shape that seems to be exiting a pair of wooden doors in one of those cell blocks. A large creature steps out of it, and even from this distance, you can see the bits of a twisted horn that would signify a minotaur. Just being able to see clearly this creature, he's larger than some of the others. You see, again, the haze kind of shifting a little bit and growing even lighter. The figure that first exited the doors, that kind of blew the doors open, is sprawled on the ground, some kind of a humanoid on his back. You can see, seems to be holding out his hands, and the Minotaur looms above him, obscuring him from view. There's a single motion where you can see a glint of something as the Minotaur draws back, and then it descends quickly. And suddenly the smoke kind of runs forwards, and it gets harder to see. You see vague shapes moving. The smoke displaces, and again below you see just a body, and slowly growing beneath blood. But that is what you see.
Love that.
All right. So the dangerous plan, if that were to be something to do, you said the L shape being like a rampart almost.
Yeah, so a rampart is a perfect word for it. It is a rampart that goes from one part of the legislative building to the other. And you would remember in that drawing that you were given, there is the room itself circled. You can actually see that room. You can see it. It's, again, no more than 200 feet away. It is directly below you. You can actually see bits of the bars kind of from the window itself. You can't see into it. You're almost directly overhead. But landing on that rampart, you would be able to theoretically travel somehow 6 feet down and then into the window, where there are no bars. That's where the leader was kept. You would remember there were other prisoners marked in that building, that very building. They were on the ground floor.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Is there who else is down here with me?
I think you're alone.
Oh, okay.
I just want
I
to
went
Gunter's
down. Yeah.
Gunter's down? Oh, okay, cool. I don't know. I wanted to like poke my head around, but I don't want to fall. But Gunter's the one to help hold me in place. I think I'm okay. I think I'm good.
Guidance.
I'll grab the scruff of your neck, Cole.
grab his antler.
I mean, I'm not gonna like
I'll hold you by
lean
your
in with
antler.
not holding on at all. I'm just
Mission Impossible style.
Yeah, good.
Grab
like
your
go-
It's
waist.
the antlers to just lower him.
I
You
would
know what?
love if you
Best
pinatted Heinrich
team-
down into a prison. That'd be great.
Using his Goldilocks hair on my antlers, just like
Rapunzel.
Just tie it down.
okay, no, let's not do that. Okay. Is there how strong is this wind? Is there a way for me to like just kind of look against the ceiling and see if there's any other like anything other than just a straight fucking drop down?
Yeah, you lay down fairly confident that the weight of your scale mount and your body will keep you anchored. You just kind of poke your head in. It's uncomfortable, and you get kind of an upside down look at just the immediate vicinity. It's raw rock. It has been worked a little bit, but you would imagine when Kol Taram was being constructed, this probably was at one point maybe not a solid mountain. There were probably always caverns and things going through, but they probably started up and dug down. So you can see very rough work. There hasn't really been a lot of decorative elements or anything like that. There are areas where you imagine, you kind of look at your own hands. Morwen and Shae might be able to traverse within on the ceiling itself. There are areas where there are jagged rocks going down that maybe they could cling to or hold on to. There are no stalactites. There's nothing that long, but there are just bits that you might be able to grip on. There's not like a building or like a a walk.
It's a convenient bar. Oh wait, actually you were talking about a bar I had before, but whatever. Anyways, yeah, okay, cool. That's all I wanted to see. Is just like, was there something that they were missing in terms of a way to get down easily from here? But I don't think it's a good idea. So I think I'm just gonna stand back up and slowly close the door.
Okay. Slowly you lower this large hatch, and as it shuts, there's just this bit of kind of smoke that out, but you close it without issue.
You go in.
Yeah, no problem. You guys go back upstairs? Follow? Okay, so you guys emerge from the top. Krawtic looks at you. So, did you find anything?
This looks like about a 200-foot straight drop to the prison.
Oh, that doesn't sound safe.
No, there's also a huge minotaur that killed someone while I was watching. Kind of looked a little bit like, I don't know. Couldn't tell the
There's
nature
a
of it. but
public
he looked-
execution.
Yeah, more or less, something like that. But there's a big bad minotaur down there. And he's larger than any other ones we've seen wandering around here, that's for sure. Some big boss or executioner. But I don't think it's a good idea. I think it's just they had something going and they just, I don't know, it didn't seem to be a good idea to pan out.
part of this might be because my experience with prisons has mostly been staying out or getting out, but perhaps the Halls of Atonement not the best place to start. It's
Sure.
far away and it seems just a bit inaccessible.
Well, sure, and potentially not even helpful, more dangerous than that.
To your point.
That's all. Just wanted to check, and may you rest in peace.
I don't know.
Shit. What's his name?
Mador.
Mador.
You kept calling him Midal or whatever. I can't remember what you were calling
Midal.
him.
Midas.
It's calling him. But
All right.
anyhow,
So let's go to the bronze serpent, Shae, like you were saying. Find this tree thing.
very well. Let us return. And Helia kind of gets up, and you guys begin the transition over to the bronze serpent. But because it is 10:16, this is where we're going to take our break. So it is 10:16. We're going to take like a quick 10-minute break. We will be back at 10:27. I will go over some of the cool stuff that people who just joined in or joined in halfway through missed. Just like a brief recap, and then we'll get right back into the second half of our game. We'll be back in 10 minutes. See you then. And welcome back to Adventures in Alberon, our 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons game that has been going on for over a year. I'm Joe Treff, your Dungeon Master, and joining me, as earlier, are Matt Miles, Ali, and Tina. A little bit of technical trouble, apologize for that. We are not professionals. We all work other jobs. But we are happy to have you guys along. We're going to jump right back into the game. So when we left off, let me think, where were we? You guys had just done your reconnaissance mission, shut the hatch inside that tunnel, and then climbed upstairs. You guys emerged out into the courtyard. And where are you guys going? What is the plan?
We're going back to the bronze serpent
Thanks,
to check it out.
Okay.
Yeah, and that
Oh,
tree
right.
thing, or anything that has roots or trunks or branches, and
Sure.
anything that would resemble that or something like that.
You guys retrace your steps. Assuming that you guys are going in a stealthy manner, could everybody make stealth checks, please?
I rolled a 1 and a 20.
Ooh. Oh wait.
So at disadvantage, I swept the whole spectrum.
There you go. Every single roll. You have a wide set.
And I settled on a 4.
I
4.
also got a 1.
Hey, high five to the internet. Hey, we're both wearing heavy armor. Deal with it.
17?
I got a 22.
Okay, so 22, 17, 4, 1. You move with a certain amount of grace. There are some of you who can slide like shadows through these dark streets, and those of you who, for lack of a better term, clunk like a metal trash can full of about a week's worth of recycling. But with your combined efforts, you move through the city. There's no adjectives to add on to that. You progress down the stairs that you remember going into the kind of subset alleyways with barrels and crates kind of lining the sides. There are elements of bags that have been ripped open and kind of scattered out in the ground, although any valuable belongings, it would seem, long since taken away. The ash is still falling and the fires still burn above. You trace your way back through elements of shelled out buildings. You can see again what looks like maybe a broken, maybe some kind of a restaurant or something off to your right, and you go up and pass some of the domiciles you'd peered through previously. After about a half an hour, you make your way up into the familiar region known as the Market Aglo, and you begin to trace your steps back, remembering the ways that Fallen took you. At a point, you do get to a place where, if you wished, Heinrich, you could stop into the Eternal Rest. It's only a 5-minute detour out of the way. Okay. So pausing on your way, you actually stop and divert into Pillsdown Lane, and you get to Eternal Rest, this funeral parlor that is currently the headquarters of what remains of the Resistance. What was 7 dwarves, now 6. Or 7, but there's 2 halves in there somewhere. Yeah, you approach, and in front of you, the same doors that you had seen before, though with the news that you were bringing, they do seem darker, they do seem heavier, although they are the same stone. What do you guys want to do?
I would hang outside and just take like a deep breath, trying to collect, like, how the hell do I say this? I've never broken the news to people.
You got it, buddy.
Yeah.
You're
All right.
gonna have to do
Guidance.
Yeah, Morwen guidance. Do we want to get, what's his name, the Gibbon guy, Gibbon Society guy?
it. Balrin?
Yeah. Is he just hanging there? Are we good to just leave him there?
He seems sort of old to be trapped.
I figured he would want to escape anyway, so I just wanted to make sure that we didn't need to recruit him again.
Guntir, is there anything that you needed from this gentleman? I know him and you seem to have some kind of similarity. Fair enough.
Go.
Okay, so you can see Guntir kind of with like turtling back and the beard kind of pressing up against the chest plate, and you just kind of shake your head and walk up to the doors. Do you open them?
Yeah.
Okay. You pull the door open, and as you do, there is a kind of as blades are drawn, and you see 5 of the 6 dwarves, suddenly, again, 6, you can see sleeping still off in the corner. But drawing blades of various kinds. You see all of the dwarves who were there previous, except, of course, for Mador. But in that, you can see maybe like a moment passes and slowly they sheathe their weapons again. The one that you remember being called Emo approaches you. He's the one who wears the full stone guard outfit. This is metal that has been worked in such a way to have an appearance of almost stone. It has like this dull kind of marbling effect to it, and it does seem almost like enameled, so that it seems to have more of a matte finish. But he approaches you, Heinrich, and he doesn't quite make eye contact. You get the sense that he is like a little bashful, perhaps, but he sort of just looks and so. Did you figure out what you were looking for? You see what we did there?
And it is very good work.
Thank you. It was mostly Mador's idea. He's been kind of the leadership.
Who else would you sort of assume? You know what? There's no easy way to put this. There were people already there uncovering your hole when we arrived.
Sorry.
I seem to be put into these situations with no way out of it, so I'm just gonna go right ahead and
Sure.
walk right into it.
Well, you guys got
And-
back okay, so the whole
Not everyone did.
He kind of looks beyond you and tries to see through the door. I'm really sorry. Who'd you lose?
Well, it is I who am sorry.
Oh,
You see, there was a giant that came bursting out of the upper ward walls, and
is Mador dead?
yes, I am so sorry.
Did you get his
I
stuff?
don't. His stuff.
You can see Aniev now, the one with the eye patch, kind of come over. Yeah, did you pick up his armor?
The others usually tend to the bodies. I don't remember. Hold on a moment.
She kind of
hold
rolls
on a
her
moment.
eyes and just pushes past you. The rest of you see Aniev now, this dwarf, come out, eye patch, kind of down over the head. All right, so Mador died and somebody took his stuff. We need it.
I mean, oh, are we in there?
No,
She
she's
came
talking to you
out
outside now.
to you guys.
Oh. No, we don't have it, but we buried him.
Ah,
So, I doubt anyone's, picked it up. Sorry for your loss, by the way.
Oh, it's okay. We'll just go to the blacksmith and get some new armor. Oh, right. The city's under siege, and we need everything that we can get. You just buried it?
well, it's
Well,
just like
he's kind of disrespectful to pick everything up.
She's trying
I
to
mean,
go
don't
inside.
get me wrong. I'm usually
She's
down.
You're talking to Ash. She walks
Well, I'm gonna
back.
keep going.
She looks at you. Yeah, okay, so Morwen's still going off on a tirade. She storms away. She enters into the Eternal Rest again. She stomps by and goes over and returns to the other main part of the dwarf. You can see Emma kind of follows her with his eyes and then says, don't mind Annie. She has a bit of a temper. But
Oh,
Mador knew what he was in for. We all do. There's a reason there's not a lot of us.
well, if it's any consolation, he charged right in very honorably.
Mador?
Yeah. We were all in a fight, and he went to help, and the giant is a giant.
Make a deception check.
I'm
It's not
Enter.
entirely.
Make it at advantage, as I imagine, with
It's not
Heinrich's kind
entirely
of.
a fault.
It isn't. So make it at advantage.
Okay.
I'm also
he
gonna.
did charge in, but his
the
battle
blades.
cry was, "Oh dear."
22.
42.
Yeah.
He nods and seems to take this in stride. That's good to know. I know Mador is kind of forced into that role, and he never wanted it. It didn't really suit him at first, but I guess he grew into it. I'll tell the others. They'll be happy to know that he became a hero.
Yes. And if you do need to recover his things, unfortunately, I think our paths may be splitting here for the time being, because we are, I think I told you before, trying to get rid of the dragon. We found some very valuable information, so we're kind of off on that end of things, and you guys seem to be pretty good at getting people out, so we'll leave you to that. But if you do need to recover his belongings, we did bury him nearby the hole. I think I can give him the description.
Sure, you give him the description. He kind of says, well, Annie, have overreacted. It's true, when we first started, we were overmanned and underarmed, but with so many bodies gone, a little bit of lost armor isn't going to go missing.
Enter the building.
Yeah, you walk in.
BT Debs, we go retrieve his stiff or whatever. There's a big like mound of ash, and if you just like find the right one, there's a giant underneath with some gold necklace.
Can we
A lot of
take?
money
I have
there.
the gold necklace.
You guys took all the gold.
I'm wearing
I-
it.
Gunter's wearing the gold necklace, like he tied it around.
I never
it's
walked
like
in the
it's like a
building.
double bandolier. Okay, so you're still out
Scratch
there.
it
in
all.
the ash.
I'm talking
I will.
random shit.
I
Who
will.
are you talking to over there?
Morwen would know that, so I will allow that. That's fine.
Split on Gunter's body.
Yeah.
For some reason,
I didn't
thought that
take
was
it,
a joke.
Gunter.
I don't remember him actually doing it.
Yeah, he did.
He did. He took it and
Hilarious.
he made like a little bandolier, so it now crosses both sides. It's a giant's necklace. But you stay outside. Emo turns to you, Heinrich, and says, "We'll be all right. I know the watch lady. She's been gone for a little bit, but she'll come back. She always does, and we'll keep getting people out. Sounds like you have learned a lot, and if your true purpose is to take down Kindscale, well, we're still working for the same cause."
Correct. Safety of the people.
Exactly.
If you do meet with this watch lady again,
Ask her the time.
could you?
You hear coming through the door from outside.
I was not even prepared for that. Oh, it threw me off so hard. I was trying to formulate what to. I usually want to give them a message to give to them to be like, try to contact me somehow.
So,
So I do that basically, saying like, if you do see them again, just say that. Oh God, I don't even know how to do this because I don't know the relationship between. You know what? Fuck it. Never mind. Where would you normally meet with them if you were to meet with her again?
oh, well, she comes in through the catacombs.
Oh, up right behind the fireplace.
Yeah,
Oh, that's convenient.
I imagine that she comes in from somewhere else. It's not
Well,
connected
sure.
directly, but yeah, she comes in through that entrance.
I see. So you just literally wait here with people to usher out.
Now, yeah, but before we had to move around, it was difficult. This has been a stroke of fortune that we haven't been discovered yet.
Well, I hope it holds up for you.
As do I, but I hope even more your friend comes back and gets us. If we are parting ways, I should tell you how to get out in case you do need to make use of our escape plan now. Not all of us, and he looks over at the one dwarf who you can see, isn't wearing pants, is wearing a shirt. She's wearing like really basic breeches, but she's not wearing like armor down below. She's only wearing armor on top. You would remember that she had said previously that the top took too long to put on, so she just left it on. But she, you can see she's just kind of looking at the wall, and every now and then she like scrapes the gauntlet down on it and kind of giggles. Not all of us can remember the way, so we made an acronym. What you got to do is you got to. Hang on, let me find this real quick. What you got to do.
Look at the name of this like funeral home is Eternal Respite, Eternal Rest. What was it again?
The Eternal Rest is the name of the funeral home. Yes.
Just for like.
Sure. And so you watch as I look through my notes. He says, so what you need to do if you're going to leave, you follow the twisted cables, which are a series of. It used to be a suspension bridge. You know a suspension bridge, of course you know. But it broke, and we took the cables and we braided it to make a bit of a ladder. So you climb up the twisted cables, and you take the alley of elves down to the lion's den. Then you go over Moradin's monument once you go down the stairs there, and then you never leave the line. When you go into the cave above the monument now, there's a bit of yellow sand that's been sprinkled on the ground. Hard to see if you're not looking, but easy enough to find now that you know it's there. Follow that line. Never leave the line, and never look back. You could remember it for the acronym for Twisted Cables, Alley of Elves, Lion's Den, over Moradin's monument. Never leave the line, and never look back. It spells out Talon, but with an extra N. But that one's silent.
Okay. Talon and...
No, the second N is silent, or maybe the first. Mater never told me.
Okay. I'm not going to be able to speed write that down. Can I just get it later?
Heinrich takes it down, and I'll send it to you.
I wrote Talon.
Yeah.
And that's easy enough to remember.
I figured.
Wink.
But
But in terms of what they actually stand for in each of the steps, yeah. I'll write it down, copy that later. Just send it.
Sure. I'll send it to you later. So you write it down within your own journals, Heinrich. But Mador, or not Mador, definitely not Mador. Emma says, so just remember that, and you should be able to get out just fine if you ever need to. But it sounds like you have other plans. You're going to fight this dragon, which, very brave of you, I have to say.
Yeah. And if not us, then at least maybe others who may need to escape. This is also good information.
Yeah, let people know. But emphasize the never looking back part. It's really important.
He's trying to get out of here. He wouldn't want to anyways.
Well, but the never looking back part, it's literal. There's a creature that roams those hallways, and it won't attack you unless you look at it.
Oh, that's fun!
So that's the part about never
okay.
looking back.
Yeah. So that's why there's a bunch of ends, because that's emphasized.
It's important.
Yeah. Noted.
So I don't want to keep you now. Is there anything else you need?
No.
Okay.
And again, I am so sorry, but you all seem to be taking this
There's nobody
rather lightly.
who, other than Aniev, who is just kind of generally angry. Nobody seems especially upset, and you do get the sense. I mean, they're part of a resistance that's been whittled down. They've lost a lot of people, and this isn't really a surprise for them.
And I guess they probably weren't lifelong friends or anything either. So
You do remember that Mador said he had been a banker. None of them had been fighters originally, and so probably yes, from a diverse set of backgrounds.
yeah. Okay. Well, best of luck to all of you, and hope maybe see you again.
And to you also, Heinrich, right? And he holds out a hand.
Yes, that's right. And I shake it.
Well, I hope you and your friends are successful, or at the very least safe. Say, we call ourselves the Resistance, but what do you call yourselves?
Yeah, hold on a sec, and I'm just gonna I'm gonna rummage around my bag for
Okay.
one of the what's it called?
Fingers?
The Cratego finger things.
Okay.
I'm gonna pull one out and be like, the finger gang, and I present the finger.
You reach into the bag and you pull out this long, it's not a finger, it's this
I know,
black
it's the
crystalline
claw.
protrusion that has ruptured through the Cratego's finger, and you all remember delivered a pretty potent blow. But in
Yeah.
this form, it is just kind of like a, it almost looks like a column of basalt.
Yeah.
Very, very geometrical. And he takes it and looks at it, doesn't seem to quite understand, but he says, okay. He just puts it in his pocket.
To make any sense. Goodbye. And I turn around and walk out the door.
You hear behind you, good luck! But you make your way back into the falling ash of the Ring of Silver outside. Finger Gang, you find yourselves now gathered out in the Ring of Silver. Ash is gently falling, and you begin again to make your way towards the Bronze Serpent. Walk for another 20 minutes. Nothing terrible seems to happen. Nothing falls from the sky. No screams are heard. And soon enough, the huge mouth of this cobra, of this snake, kind of yawn open, and you can see the walkway stretching out, the familiar walkway. You think about this for a little bit, and I would say for all of you guys, since you are looking for something with branches or something similar, make a perception check.
I'm gonna guidance myself.
Sure.
I got a dirty 20.
Dirty 20, okay.
Rolling rocks on my
I got a
random
16.
rolls.
16.
I got a 19.
19, very nice.
28.
28.
Oh,
Okay, so
okay.
Heinrich, you looking around and kind of taking this in, you remember the words that Krawtic said. You actually kind of look at Krawtic and you try to interpret from his gaze where he's looking. There's a couple of things around here. You think when you look for branches and you can see there is, this kind of fallen over inn that you guys remember having passed originally to kind of get in from the other side of the Serpent of Bronze. You look around and you can see there are larger structures nestled into where the Ring of Silver meets the wall of the mountain itself. You don't see anything necessarily that would indicate a branch or a tree, but it is smoky and hard to see. Shae, you kind of like if this were a movie for Heinrich, you can see these eyes almost, I would say, very intelligently kind of looking around, tracing paths, looking for something that might indicate a tree. If Heinrich is observant, you are like Sherlock. There are elements of the ash that kind of seem to almost displace, and for a moment you can almost swear that you see footprints. Although, like, as you shake your head, it is just ash, but you can see now gentle, almost imperceptible dips that would indicate passage of feet. You remember, as you were below, that you had heard footsteps overhead. And you take this and you kind of look and follow them. And with a 28, you're recognizing there aren't just one set or two. There are maybe 3 or 4, but you're realizing it's hard to tell because the footsteps are incredibly light. It isn't so much that they passed a long time ago, it is that the footsteps that they made never especially deep to begin with. And as you get closer and you kind of follow these and they do become a little bit fresher, there are elements to some of these footprints that would hint at perhaps footwear manufactured within Squall's End. Very, very fine tread lines that have been designed to grip the mountains around. You can see excellent craftsmanship, whereas most footprints are kind of ragged for the finishing around where the sole meets the actual material of the sides. Here, it looks very much like a modern footprint. There is the gentle slope of the foot and the kind of instep that leads to the heel. You feel very confident that there are other members of the Xinyi, perhaps within Kol Taram. And you follow this with your eyes, and they lead you up into where the floor meets the mountain wall. And there you can see a structure. There are no branches twisting out. This is not a tree, but you see now the structure itself is built into the wall, and where the finished face kind of stretches up, it does seem to almost blend into the natural rock itself. And you imagine from an upwards perspective, those ridges of rock would look very much like branches. And thinking about this now, most of this message you're now uncovering and thinking about it are told from a view high up. And that to you says that there's at least one member of the scouts here as well.
Oh boy. Okay.
Do with that information what you will.
I'm going to pass it on to Krawtic in Xinyi.
I said Xinyi turns to you. Krawtic turns to you, and in Xinyi, he says, "This is something that brings greater danger still to a situation unlike any that we have faced. If Hyland is here, and her followers, and perhaps, as you allude to, even Crick, I do not know that we could beat them.
If they are both here, certainly not. If one or the other, I still even doubt it.
We will need to be careful, and we will need to keep watch.
Yes.
Shae, I know that you have at times had differences with these members of your traveling group. But there is a time for trust.
I suppose you're
He
right.
follows your gaze over towards Guntir and then kind of returns back. I understand that trust does not always flow easily.
And in common, the path is here.
You all hear this, and you turn, and following Shae's gaze now, for most of you, still really hard to see, but Heinrich, you now tuning in, and with your previous role, you can see there is a doorway in the wall, and the wall kind of is more defined. You can't make out the details that Shae can, but you can now see that there is a path.
Now
There
that we have found it, is it wise to go in, or should we collect the golem, or should we
there
just note
are
it and come back?
likely members of our order who have fallen further ahead. Who among them? It is difficult to say at this point, but
Time to get ahead of this.
it will be a difficult fight regardless.
Should we go get the golem first?
Krawtic looks at all of you. The what?
Oh, I found a golem. You put a piece of metal in, and it gives it some sort of ability, and it's pretty strong. But yeah, we left it up there because it's pretty heavy, and I was testing things out.
You can see in this moment Krawtic's shoulder sag just a little bit. I can retrieve this golem.
I don't know if you could.
Well, if somebody is to go back, it should be Shae or I. We are the fastest.
Yeah, you probably want some extra muscle to help. Plus, we also have the other piece. Are you still holding that? Am I still holding that? Ah!
Me?
If I remember correctly, Morwen has it. Because I think specifically Morwen didn't want Guntir to be able to reactivate the golem. Looking into your bag, it is certainly there. Yeah,
Ah!
it is like a band that goes around the energy part of that.
No, I'm just like,
And there it is. A little diamond kind of falls off of it.
nothing to see.
Hey,
If
that looks
you
familiar.
wish, Krawtic and I can run and grab it quickly, reactivate it, and bring it with us.
It's more up to you. I mean, I don't know who we're dealing with. And I feel like a golem if we're getting into a fight again. It's
Would it
not a
fit
bad
through the
thing.
doorway? Knowing the size of it?
Again, because of the distance, hard to tell. I would say, Shae, you would know the doorway seems to be about 10 feet tall. You could probably wedge it in. You don't know how big it is inside. That's really the determining factor. Because if it's 10 feet tall the whole way, definitely.
Huh?
Before we even later she probably didn't make it all the way to the serpent. There was that spot right in the middle.
Huh?
Which would have been-
Well, couldn't we just drop it off?
Where would we drop it?
Well, wait, hang on. Give me 1 second. You said that you wanted to bring it through the golem. I mean, through the bronze serpent.
And that was the path that we took to get here. I just know that there's that spot in the middle that has like very shaky foundation and missing parts.
I think to Heinrich's point, Helia says, perhaps we just investigate first. And if it is something that seems as if the golem could help us, we go back and retrieve it.
Whatever floats your boats collectively.
I am
Whatever.
okay with this, but it was 4 prints I saw. Is that right, Joe?
At least 4.
Okay. It's myself and Krawtic times at least 2. And depending on who is actually here, potentially worse. For they are not on our side.
Well,
Still seems the best plan overall, though. And maybe we give them time to get ahead. If they were heading in that direction, they're going through or whatever, why don't we just let them go
I'm
away?
starting to get the sense that we don't have as much time as we really would want. Something in the back of my head just keeps bugging me about what you were saying, Krawtic. The big archway. It seems like they planted something. And I don't think we want to stick around to
I think
find
we
out
need
what
to
that
move
is.
fast, whatever it is that we're doing.
For once, I agree with you.
Where's this archway?
The archway is in the central staircase that connects all the levels of Kol Taram. They've
And
removed...
where is it in relation to, and then I would describe the Given Society from where we're standing.
So after taking a little bit of time to kind of like between the two of you triangulate sort of the different directions, he would tell you that from where you currently are, it is due southeast and just in the center of the ring. It rises all 600 feet of the Ring of Silver and connects the Ring of Copper below to the Ring of Gold above.
Archway on that specifically, is it on a certain level? Basically, is it already on the level that the golem's at?
It is on the ground.
Bring it there and wreak destruction.
It's on the ground level of the Ring of Silver. It's the Silver Sprawl. It's easy enough to access, and of the bodies that I saw, many of them seem to be laborers.
The Gibbet Society.
In relation
So that's on the Ring of Silver as well, right?
So in relation to the Market Aglo, which is in the Ring of Silver, it is about 200 feet below.
Okay.
And you haven't seen any real connections to the ground yet. You did see a lift car going out of the Market Aglo,
That's right.
and it seemed there was both a line up and down, so perhaps that is a way. But I mean, if you're trying to get to the Silver Sprawl, you would imagine there are probably dozens of ways to do so. I mean, gravity will bring you there.
Yeah.
It's a real direct route, and
Yeah.
the landing usually isn't soft. But you know, there are many ways to get down. But as a
Or
group,
just
what are you
this
doing?
gateway thing. Because if the gateway is urgent, and it's connected to why your kin, or, sorry, that's offensive, but other members of your order in some capacity are here.
You say that because
Why?
Krawtic reacted when you said that, but he says, no, it is not. It may be offensive, but I take no offense. The thing that I imagined, Heinrich, you have a gift with words. You seem to be able to read most things.
Reading, yes, of course.
Can you read our language, Xinyi? You haven't tried.
Hey, show me something and I'll see if it works.
He kneels down in the ground, kind of looks around and pulls out a bit of broken rock, vaguely pen-shaped. And I'm going to send you a link in general because all of you can see this. And Shae, you, as soon as you see it, he begins with a top. And you can see where you to cut this in half. The top part does read Dharma. But as he continues the symbol, there is this additional piece, and it doesn't quite make sense to you, Shae, because it doesn't say Dharma, although you could swear that you've seen this before. Go ahead and make a intelligence check, just raw intelligence.
That's a 16.
You think back, and you recognize that somewhere in your history there is this symbol. You scrunch your nose, you think. In your training, you took a lot of blows to the head, and the symbol doesn't immediately pull, but there's something about it that is so vividly etched in your memory that it doesn't leave you. You stare at that symbol for a little bit, and it comes to you. This is a ceremonial symbol, and it's only etched in one place. The lowest level of the Halls of Dharma.
It doesn't reshape.
As you look at it, it does reshape, and it reads the Halls of Dharma. So you can read Xinyi with your ability. Worth
Can you read
noting,
this?
from a meta level, though, Heinrich, or sign language, when your ability does allow you to read Xinyi, however, as this is the first thing that you've looked at, but you get the sense that Xinyi, even the literal words, are often not the actual meaning. And so, despite the fact that you may be able to literally uncover the meaning or the words, there is a second level of meaning typically within Xinyi. It's almost constantly spoken as a code. And so, as you uncover more of the language, that may become clear to you, but just something to think about. So,
At this point, I would say, yes, I can actually read that. I mean, it's possible that I could translate literally the archway, if that's what you were implying.
well, the other symbols were not Xinyi, but if you can read this, perhaps you can read them as well.
I can read a lot of stuff, apparently.
Krawtic,
Started
was
a
this
little while
on the
ago, but,
archway?
yeah.
Yes, it was in the central stone.
We need to hurry. Whatever we're doing.
Hurry to what, though? To this gate or to the dragon?
Can't
or
hurry if we don't have a plan.
what's wrong with that?
That's
What-
just hurry into your door.
Well, what causes you to act so strongly or react so strongly?
You recall greater than I do what happened in the Sunrest Isles with Bernard.
Yeah.
I fear the same is hidden within Squall's End.
You think Banal's back?
Not Bernal.
And the one time that Guntir remembers the name correctly.
But the same. Another tower, pillar, whatever it is.
This is on the gateway here. Then what would the connection be?
I don't know.
Well, shouldn't we seek to stop it? Because what happened at at Sunrise Isles is something I would like to avoid ever letting happen again.
Absolutely.
Should
If they get the
we
piece that the dragon has, they can do
do
untold
what
damage.
Bernal did?
Yes.
What if we destroy the gate? Would that? I mean, we're talking about it like a gate. I'm
I don't know.
mentally now treating it like a portal. It's
I
likely
don't
that
know.
there was some way to transport things great distances right to that. So what if we break it? What if we destroy it with the golem? Then at least we won't have to rush as much.
Well, shouldn't we go to it so we can even see if that's a thing?
Sure. Well, why don't we
I
bring
mean,
the
are we going
golem
there
with
no
us?
matter what? Like, we want to just go there?
Well, that now, I mean, this is where the fork in the plan is happening. Are we going there now, or are we going up to this, oh god, what's his name? Denman's Ward area.
Who?
you would recall the thing that I described after I spoke with Boron last night when you were all sleeping and told you about not 3 hours ago.
Yeah.
It's the hollowed out area under the Golden Terrace. So that's now
Yeah.
2 different objectives and locations, destinations, whatever you want to call it.
Let's split up.
If the ultimate goal is to prevent more of these pillars, right? Since
Guys,
that
split up
hastens
if you want to.
the end of the world. The dragon is just a catalyst of that. Dragon is in possession of something that they want to get or are moving to the location that's underneath Squall's End apparently now. Like,
So
why don't we
it's-
go break the gate?
Elliot kind of pipes
That's
in.
what it
It
is.
seems to me like these are 2 parts of a whole. And regardless of which part we decide that we're going to pursue, we're taking a half of whatever is happening. You say, this dragon, it has a crystal, whatever that might be. If we take that, does that disable this gate?
We don't know. I think you're onto something, though, where one way or another, we're going to have to deal with both of these. If we deal with the dragon first, then your friends are going to come and try and find us to get the thing that we get from the dragon. And if we go after your friends first, then the dragon will probably find us because it's already looking for us, and then we're going to have to deal with that. So it's really 6 one way, half a dozen the other in my eyes.
You know, in my
once.
family, we do sometimes encounter a problem similar. You have vested interests in somebody falling down, and perhaps another group does as well. Perhaps if we go and your friends, she says to you, Shae, although it's clear, Shae, that she knows that they're not your friends. She gets that Guntir is just saying this. Perhaps we can use them to our advantage.
Perhaps.
Using to advantage. It sounds like they wouldn't work with us at all.
That doesn't mean they have to not work against the dragon.
The friend of my enemy, or however it goes. You,
Yeah,
That's right. Like she
the
said, she don't book
the enemy of my enemy is neutral to me.
It's my
Don't
enemy too.
two negatives make a friend.
For the moment.
I'll take off one of your guys' tally marks here. So, to me, I would imagine we should at least investigate this door, as we did come all this way. But we don't need to go in.
Exactly. Just to see if the golem could fit. That's the first thing.
Let's go.
Who's leading the way?
Making a decision.
Let us make
Going.
haste, as it is.
Morwen starts 6 a.m., like
Power walk.
50-year-old person power walking around the mall. You can see she just makes her way through the ash.
She change her armor into like a tracksuit.
So to Morwen.
That's
So-
none of your business.
I can see you.
No, you can't.
True, actually.
Probably. So, as a group, you make your way over into the store. It's only about 70 feet away, but through the falling ash, which seems to be growing almost heavier. You can see just barely elements of the store, but Shae, as you guys draw closer, it kind of comes into view for you first. You do have very good vision. And you can see that this doorway, though carved of stone, it is about 10 feet tall. Intricate little, it looks like almost like there'll be like a straight line and then a straight line going away from it perpendicularly, and it makes this big meshed pattern. But emerging from the middle, you can see there's a small shelf, maybe foot across. And as you guys all draw closer, you can see this is an Arcana tile shelf in this old part of the city. You can see it seems to be built to accommodate about 3 tiles.
Get out the book.
Okay. Bust out the book. And you begin to look through your notes on those tiles. Who has the tiles, by the way?
I think I have some of them.
You I have ones that were found with the golem, I thought. And then I have the
Yeah,
ones
I
that
have-
you
You
found
have
and locked your hair.
I have some that were also in the dead guy's bag that I used to speak with Dead on.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I know that you canonically. The only one that I know for sure that you have.
I have hair death. I know I have hair and death.
You don't have death. I think Heinrich.
Oh, because
very
Death.
pointed.
I kept death very pointedly.
You, Guntir, I know have 2 red Arcana tiles that say red that transform things to red. You also have dwarf. You also have hair to blonde. Those are the only ones that I know for sure. The rest are you guys gotta keep track of inventory stuff.
I think I haven't actually looked at the other tiles yet.
Okay, so you pull them out, and in your hand there are just a handful. They look almost like the size of like 2 Scrabble tiles, or like a domino. Each one's about the size of a domino, made out of metal. The ones that you have all recovered at this point, primarily, are all made out of what look like steel or iron, with the exception being the death one. That one seems to be crafted out of maybe silver. So a little bit more intricacy to it. But the other one's all kind of this iron, steel with various shapes on them. You've uncovered the meaning of several, not all. What do you guys want to do? Seems to be space for 3.
With 3 that I have. Bullshit. Alright, guys. So I know that the 3 that I have I could make break if fire, and then I could just light it up. But I don't want the door to break and make a noise and alert anything to our presence. What are the ones that you have, Guntir?
Well, I think we could turn the door into a dwarf. We could turn its hair blonde. Or we could turn it red. Or we could do a combination of the 3. I also have these that I haven't looked at.
Oh my
I
god.
hand them the one.
It's come out in a bag. It's like 6 different tiles. Heinrich, you looking at them immediately, you remember that he does have one that was break.
Okay, so I guess I just kept death and you took all of
I
them.
believe so.
Okay. Well, that works out even easier. Okay, so I guess I'll just do the old trick. If you don't mind, Guntir, could I at least take these 3?
I open up the bag like a little.
Yeah.
It's like Halloween.
And I'll
and
just do break.
Take 3.
Put in, if, put in, and then fire, put in.
Okay. So you place each of these tiles in turn, and they spell out in this kind of Arcana tile language, break if fire. And they sit there. There is none of that kind of like rejection sound or anything like that. It seems to just kind of sit and wait.
One back, please.
Okay.
And then I'm going to also get back to the range of this spell, which is, I think, 60 feet. Double check it.
Okay.
Get back to it.
Helia backs up and Krawtic backs up. Rest of you backing up as well, I would assume. Okay, good.
Okay, so 60 feet away, I do create bonfire just enough to see if it works, and then I put it out immediately, kind of thing.
Okay.
Like,
So you watch, and Heinrich holds his hand up, and for a brief moment on each of the fingernails, you see this kind of glyph come to life, but the hand opens, and 60 feet away, this fire roars to life, this cheery bonfire, and as it touches the door, and suddenly just quenches, the door swings open.
sick. And I go recover the tiles, because that seems to be the best one for opening doors, and I'll just hang on to that.
Okay, and you're beginning to get the sense this language that Arcana tiles are used in, not literal translations.
Right.
Break seems to also mean just breaking open to form an entryway, or who knows. But they seem to all kind of have a variety of meanings, at least the ones that you've used so far. So this door opens up. You walk in, careful to pluck each tile back from the shelf. And as the door is open now, you can see in a little bit. This room, the same gray stone that Kol Taram has been made of, these big, 5 foot wide slabs on the ground. Although the rock here, very interestingly, a little bit neater you can see elements no longer just like rough stone, but there are almost like flagstones. And you're realizing now these large like slabs that you've seen throughout Kol Taram, at one point probably very similar to this. It's like a variety of field stones that have been laid in mortar, all very similar colors, and maybe over years can get packed down, but these still very much fresh, one might say, despite the fact that there is a thin layer of dust. Especially from where the door opened, there's ash that's kind of blown in. The room stretches out about 20 feet. You can see what looks like another door on the far side. On either side, there is these, they look like iron torches, although there's nothing to burn at the ends. It's like iron cones, really. They're bracketed into the walls pretty securely. You can also see on the door, there is this sort of large, yeah, one sec, where is it here? There is a bit of an inscription. Give me just 1 second. So one of the fun things about this was I had really no idea where you guys were going to go, so I charted out a large number of ways that you could go. But there does seem to be an inscription carved into the actual door itself. Looking different than some of the architecture, this seems to be done much afterwards. You can see it's jagged and crosses over some of the lines. It seems as if maybe in kind of a hurry it was placed. This etching goes across the two doors, and so it reads as one, but you would imagine opening the doors would kind of break this sentence. It is written in Dwarvish, and so Guntir, you can read this, and Heinrich, as you look, these dwarven runes reshape into common. Although for just a moment, you can see elements of celestial kind of glimmer in as well. You have been working on learning that language, and so it seems as if it's kind of present in your mind and is beginning to push itself out.
That's cool.
Yeah, but you can read. It says, "Beyond there are four. Be wary, for movements cleave. Do not pass, for beyond lie terror." And again, scratched in a hurried way, and very, very, the way in which it's written, you would imagine there is something bound into these words. You get the sense that there is a magical element to this. They're stretched across the two doors, and while there is no lock, something about that does give you pause. Sure. Beyond there lie four. I'll tell you the three most important parts, and I'll send you the full thing later. Beyond there are four. They cleave. Beware the obvious answer.
That's what I was thinking.
I'm gonna read it out loud so that everyone else hears it.
So now all of you are privy to this information.
Who cleaves?
Oh,
Yeah, I don't know. Four.
What's the obvious answer?
cleave seems to stick out, for sure.
Well, beware the four. But the four what?
Cleaves.
No, the four potential metal men from, what's it, the Xinyi warning. And also from Boron's tale of potentially elemental machinery people or creations that apparently might still be here.
Shae, and you can see Krawtic now. He's been kind of walking the edges of this room. Nothing is disturbed.
Nothing.
When you look down and you can see the dust is unbroken. It does, even for the tracks that you saw before, these incredibly light tracks, they left marks.
Did they not make it through?
That I do not know. But the only one you can move without touching the ground would need to use wings to do so. And I do not see the dust disturbed. So flight seems unlikely. And he turns, and you can see even where the door swung open, the dust displaced from that wind.
Correct.
Perhaps
You think-
we are lucky. Perhaps we are ahead.
Perhaps.
It could also be waiting for us to go through.
You can see at that both Helia and Krawtic turn. And Krawtic looks at the group. Is everybody agreeable that I shut the door?
Please.
Yeah,
And he
drafty.
walks over and takes the doors. And you can see the muscles on his back all kind of like go taut as he takes these two large stone doors.
Here.
And they shut. You can see the dust kind of disperse again.
Ooh,
Well.
it's hot in here.
Should we open the doors again?
No. And I think about watching Krawtic open the doors and closing them again.
I shape water onto Morwen's face from Heinrich's thing of endless water. Just
You can't.
Out of his bag.
You don't
So-
know the
His
word.
face.
You don't know the word. You can't
Point
do
of
it.
action, you need to know the activating word and utilize that to affect the
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 water.
effect. Yeah, so you
Yeah,
can't
that's
pull
right.
it out. Very technically, it's not like there isn't just water in there. It's
It
It
generates.
produces it.
kinda. I mean, you guys don't know, but it's not. If you open it and look in, it does seem empty.
There's a portal that activates at the bottom of a well.
Sure.
And that's where the force comes from. Is just all of the pressure. Just,
Heinrich
Yeah,
just has
gravity.
an entire well in his bag.
well,
If
well,
if
well.
this is something that you really want to know the answer to, do remember that in Alberon, everything has a reason. I mean, if you really want to take some time to figure it out, you can.
Well, I think the
Make
whole.
it to a
Scratch this
goblin
whole thing.
sewer
This
system.
is what I want to figure out
Wait,
right
this is
now.
the most
Let's-
pointless side quest. Let's move on.
I think the most important quest is the one that I've been carrying in this the whole time. Is what's on the other side of this portal? Is it the final pillar and the crystal?
Find-
Stick my head through it. Just kidding. I can't do that. All right. Okay. So, is this room large enough for the golem? First of all, that's number one in my mind.
So looking up, it's the golem cannot stand upright in this room. It's about 5 feet too tall standing to be upright. Could it crawl? Sure. It's only 10 feet across, and so it will kind of span the hallway, and you don't know what's beyond this door. But in this space, it could crawl or crouch and make it in. Yeah.
Sort of slouch like Guntir, right?
Even like a Guntir slouch, it wouldn't quite make it. It needs to like be bent over. This is,
Could it like
kind of.
crab into it?
This is even
Like, you know.
bigger. This is even less comfortable than Gandalf in like in Frodo's house. You know, when he goes in and he's like way too tall. It would be worse than that.
Don't want to make the golem uncomfortable.
No, his feelings would be hurt.
Yeah. We'll just leave him, disassembled, laying in a pile somewhere. That's a little more.
Humane.
Well, do we want to try to figure this door out?
Yeah.
It seems like we may have gotten ahead of them, but if they were stopped by the door that we just opened,
So they had to
maybe they
figure
will.
out.
Maybe they just can't get through it without the tiles that we have, and that's good.
They
I
may
would
not
say
have any
so.
tiles, which
Right.
Well, if we're trying to keep them from coming in, I mean, we're here.
Exactly.
Seems like
Maybe
that's-
we should just leave the golem and come back for it later.
Maybe we should move forward a little bit and see,
Exactly.
at the very least.
Now, Guntir, I seem to remember you were very keen on figuring out where hidden perils lay ahead when you've had your powers before. Do you think you could do that again here?
Huh?
This door, it may be trapped. This writing seems a little arcane in nature. And also, with that, can I try to perceive unnatural arcana
Yeah.
kind of area?
Make an Arcana check.
I'll do the usual check for traps before I cast find traps.
Okay,
I'm
so
not-
you can make a investigation check as well. Heinrich, what was yours?
It was a 6. Terrible.
You look at
I'm
this,
gonna
and it's interesting because the
guidance
door,
myself.
whatever hinges it is attached to, are either within the wall.
Ooh.
It's very sturdy. But you don't see any traps. You don't see any lock. There is just kind of a long handle that would indicate you can pull it out.
Is it
Or
wooden
push.
or
Stone.
iron?
Stone.
Oh,
Ooh,
okay.
Your favorite.
So I got a 14 on the investigation.
Okay. You kind of look through, you trace your fingers along the bottom, but there is no seam. This door is flush with the ground. It is very well constructed. You kind of feel around, you look at the handle, nothing immediately jumps out at you. You look at the top. You can't quite reach the top, but looking up with a visual inspection, doesn't seem trapped.
Can I try to open it? Just like,
Reach out.
That I'm gonna step back and
Okay.
away from the center of the door.
Sure. So Guntir
I'm not
No,
trying to
please.
open it fully. I'm just trying to see if if I push on it, does it feel like I could open it completely?
Yeah, like
you know,
does
just
it
kind of
give at all?
peek
you
it.
push
Keep it
on the
open.
door that has the handle that I just said you could pull it open with,
There-
and it
pull.
doesn't seem to open. But you think,
Pull it.
oh, it's a pull door, and it's a pull door, and you go and you pull, and just with a little pull, there is give. It seems to be unlocked.
I'm gonna slowly open it and kind of peek through.
Gets the wall now, just
Sure.
nope.
Oh, I'm in there peeking too. I'm curious as
You-
hell.
Pull the door open, and for just a moment, as the part of the word separates, you see this red, like a flicker of energy,
Oh,
and the door opens. And beyond, you see 1, 2, 3, 4 torches, dim red flame, rise up just a little bit to generate what looks like some kind of very, very low light.
you think that's the 4 we need to be aware of?
The light casts a almost silhouette on these 4 large figures, statues
That's probably the 4.
made of bronze, each resembling a dwarven knight, perhaps. Very odd-looking armor, angular, ornate, but reminiscent a little bit of the Stone Guard armor. This a little bit more elaborate. There are these sort of in the helm with this nose covering. You can see these large protrusions that angle out, very Galactus kind of. If you think about his helmet, these kind of coming out things. Each holds a huge greatsword, almost the size of Joe Tons, the giant that you've just slayed. At the moment, the swords all point inwards, going up to a peak. This room, worth noting, about 25 feet tall. The golem could easily fit in here.
Huh.
All the sword points just avoid touching, maybe a sliver between each. They meet maybe 15 feet up in the air, not quite at the ceiling, but below them, you can see a single platform, a different kind of stone than the rest of the rock here. And you see again on the ground a little plate that seems perfect for Arcana tiles. And from this distance in the low red gleam, you can see a glint, what looks like perhaps a tile left on there.
So something activated. And I'm bewaring
Of course.
I'm bewaring the 4 statues that I now see in front of me.
Swords.
Oh, those are the cleavers.
And then the obvious answer means don't go with the obvious answer to fill in that tile thing. Whatever the answer is to whatever question.
Or
Polish.
maybe we fill in the tile thing without the obvious answer.
That's what I'm
Duh.
Becomes which tile was left.
I'm gonna go see.
So
Wow.
you begin to creep forwards. Morwen, this black tabaxi, seeming to kind of merge into the murky light and crawls forwards. And as it gets closer, you can see Morwen, this little tableau that comes up from the floor where the tiles could be placed. There's room for 4. In the lower left corner, you see a glimmering silver tile, not steel, it's silver. It looks almost like an anvil, like a little square and a little line below. I didn't upload a picture, but I do have one. But looking at this tile, it does look different than the other ones that you have. It seems a little bit fancier, and you would imagine were Arcana tiles roughly in line with spell circles. This would be a higher circle spell.
I'm gonna run back and just be like, sorry guys, I forgot I can't read tiles.
Or
can't
just
read
read
in
in general.
Did you bring it with you?
No?
I'm
You
gonna
already
shuffle
ran
out there, like not taking my eyes off the statues because I'm like be wary of.
You're be wary of those for sure, yeah.
And I'm gonna go take a look at the tile, see if it says anything that I can read.
Okay. I'm trying to find my picture of it because I so what I did was I drew these tiles, and unlike the last ones, I was like, you know what? Oh, I found it. Okay. So Guntir, make an investigation check as you get up.
Ooh, nice, 21.
Okay. You get a little closer, and unfortunately, there's more than originally met the eye. You can see Morwen crept up and saw that tile, and you see it in the bottom left corner. And your eyes kind of go beyond this little tableau and through the rock, and you realize now there are bones, only a few, small. They look like hand bones, perhaps, and they 3 or 4 fingers kind of clenching something. You see more glimmers, maybe more tiles.
And those are like next to the tile that's already there.
They're so imagine square, sort of right in the middle of this room.
Yeah.
There's a littler square in there with 4 spaces. There's 1 tile in.
Okay.
Beyond that, if you were to proceed north,
Oh, okay.
roughly 6 feet away, there is the remains of a skeletal hand grasping additional tiles.
All right. I'm gonna carefully, still being very wary of the 4. I'm gonna go check out the skeletal hand and gather up. Basically, I'm not gonna move them yet, but I want to like inspect each of the tiles before I collect them.
Sure. There are 3 more tiles there. I will send you in Discord, and I don't know how you guys will post this because I forgot to put it on Instagram. So it's just a picture. It'll be on our website tomorrow, www.alberonrpg.com. It is, there are a couple of tiles. The one that Morwen found is the one in the middle of that picture, resembling almost like an anvil, a cleaver, like a little stick or something. There's one on the left that looks like kind of a lightning bolt with 2 platforms. There's one that looks almost like a bar graph. It looks kind of like a Wi-Fi signal, perhaps. One long line, a shorter line, an even shorter line, and then what looks like a little L or something, even smaller down at the end. And then you see something that looks like a circle, 4 lines emerging from it, a little glyph up in the corner, and a little line on the bottom. They don't mean anything to you. These aren't dwarvish. There are elements, again, that do look like they might be inspired by such, but these are arcane markings.
Okay. I'm going to carefully collect them while trying not to disturb the skelly.
Make a sleight of hand check. And it's not a full skeleton, it's just a hand.
Yeah, bring the fingers
skelly,
back to us.
skelly. I want to be careful with them.
You guys have enough fingers, I think.
17.
Good.
17. You see these little skeletal fingers curled around the tiles, and you're not really sure how to get out of it, but you think back. Your eyes kind of cross as you think. And in your possession, you do have a couple of little ore elements, and you think, wait. And you shuffle through, you pull out this little piece of a ferrous metal, and you hold it above, and 3 of the tiles, the 3 tiles in there, magnetized to the actual ore itself. The skeletal hand shifts just a little bit, barely. Nothing seems to happen.
Great.
So there is now just this clenched fist, and you have attached to this piece of ore 3 Arcana tiles.
I'm gonna go back, grab the last one that's in the slot. Same way, I'm gonna like hold the thing up just so it pulls it up.
Okay, hold it up. No, actually. So that
it's
one
made of
is
silver.
made of silver. It is not magnetic, and so it stays.
I'm gonna pick it up then.
You pick it up.
And then I'm gonna bring them back over and show them to Heinrich. Be like, "What do these mean?"
And Gunter's old hands come out, and he holds out 4 tiles. They're the wrong way. You have to flip them all over, and you can now see the 4 Arcana tiles that he has.
I mean, I don't know. I couldn't read the other ones.
Yeah.
You had to
Make an
like,
Arcana.
what's up? Yeah, I have to
Make an
make
Arcana check if you want. Go for it.
Yeah.
You know a
I don't
little bit
have-
more about them now.
Guidance.
Yeah, feels
My
good.
hand accidentally touches yours as I pass them
You
to
do
you.
one of those like things.
You make
Yeah.
eye contact.
Yeah, one of
It's
these
warm.
things.
They're making guy contact. They're
Yep,
touching.
yep,
That's
yep.
what you
Eye
do.
contact. Okay.
Yeah.
It's just like finger.
Apropos.
Finger. Yeah. Arcana. That is 16.
Okay. With a 16, looking at these, the only thing that you can really kind of pull out, these are these are from the original building of Kol Taram. They served as a very expensive way of basically powering a couple of different otherwise mundane creations. The meaning doesn't jump out. What I would say is, based on the previous ones, the one with that little lightning bolt thing and the two platforms, it reminds you a little bit of Break. But that's pretty much all you get. Silver one's probably more powerful.
Which one is the silver one?
Silver one is the one in the middle of that picture, so it looks kind of like an anvil, a cleaver, and a little stick.
No, is it fire then break? Can't really.
You got the one combo, you're sticking to
Yeah,
it.
that's it. That's all I got. I'm going to use it in every optimal situation. No, I mean, the only thing that I could say is this one kind of reminds me of break, but they say cleave, so maybe cleave or cut or separate, divide, something.
And
along
as
those lines.
you pull that together, you realize this probably means cleave or slash.
Yeah. The other one's like no idea. Other than the very fun testing that we've done before.
Seemed like the right time to be testing.
I agree. Was there anything? So the three that were in the skeletal hand, I can't read, and the one that, oh no, one of them was cleave. What else is in this room? So we have the four
Okay.
statues
That was-
pointing
Make
the
a
thing.
perception check.
Yeah, so we have the four pointed swords, we have the four torches that lit up. The platform with the place to put 4 tiles. And then 8. 8 for perception. I mean, is there another
Here.
door? Is there...
It's weird. There doesn't seem to be any other doors. I mean, you can see these 4 massive statues. There are these 4 torches that are kind of lowly burning with a red flame that casts sinister kind of dim light, almost like a red room. But you don't see any doors. You get the sense that there must be one somewhere, although it is clearly hidden.
You said all of them are like pointing their swords up. Is there any specific thing that they're pointing at aside from just like the ceiling?
You look up, you don't see anything. You see the ceiling, but then you think about it and you look down, and they are directly above this square. And you think about that tile that Heinrich has, that he says means cleave or slash. You'd guess the reason that they're suspended above this is as sort of a defense mechanism should people play with the tiles. And actually, to your point, Heinrich, you kind of look over at the hand, and the little bits that are left of the wrist, very cleanly cut. A heavy blade did that.
Just the little stuff that you read.
The rest of the little stuff?
Yeah.
On the door?
Yeah.
Beyond their life or they cleave, beware the obvious answer are the most important things about it. Beware the obvious answer means, well, what's the question, really? Is it, how do I open the door? How do I get out of here? But they cleave either as a warning or is part of the answer. Like, their job is to cleave, so they cleave away forward, maybe, as well as people's hands off.
I think I am going to, as a ritual,
Okay.
begin performing augury.
Okay.
And figure out
So,
how
you know,
best
I have-
to.
I know that augury is like a lesser version of commune. Give me 1 second. Let me pull it up. Okay, so you're going to cast augury. You're casting as a ritual?
Yes.
Okay. So what tokens are you using to cast augury? What does this look like?
I think I'm gonna take out some of the bones, some
Okay.
of the thingies that I've got in my collection of various thingies and probosci, and
So Gunter brings out like a leather. It looks almost like a chef's roll of knives, but as he unravels it, there are fingers. You can see from some long ago fight. It looks like a tendril or proboscis or something, but it's dried and kind of crackly looking. You can see there are a number of fingers. There are some Cortego protrusions. There are elements
the
of barbs.
Shren-long fingers.
There's the Shrenyu fingers. You can see that there are elements of like wyvern kind of still, like bits of chitin kind of still there. But you take some of these and Gunter, you shake them in your hands and you just throw them onto the ground. And at first they scatter, just bones. But all of a sudden, as you concentrate and perform this ritual, the bones that are just finishing their movement on the floor just condense into a very rigid shape. Gunter, you can interpret that. What is your question?
I was going to figure out the results of a specific course of action. The specific course of action being putting in the if dwarf cleave into the slots.
You can see the long fingers of the Shrenyu kind of as that happens, they arc and form these kind of curved edges, and you see the other fingers all seem to come out dagger-like or teeth-like. And as you really look at it, these fingers and other weird remnants of monsters once fought arrange themselves into almost a skull.
Yeah.
This is whoa.
Okay. 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 So that's not it. Okay.
So all you guys see is Gunter throw a bunch of body parts on the ground, look at them, and go, "Rrr," and just kind of gather them back up.
I'm gonna take out Frank the Skull.
Okay.
And just put him on my table. It's been a while.
Morwen takes out the skull from a long, long, long ago dungeon, found in that room where the bodies of old Cortego lie kind of desiccated and shriveled up in the circular hallways. You take the skull and just put it right on your tail, and there's a skull on your tail. There's no better way. I've thought a lot about describing Frank the Skull, the ways in which to make him cooler. He's a skull on your tail.
All on the tail, bro. Hold on, I'm trying to decide.
But the end of my tail pokes out of his little eye socket.
Of course.
I'm gonna cast the augury die, as it were, again. This time, thinking, what would happen if I tried to dispel the magic in this room?
Okay, so
Right.
you take another 10 minutes, and you watch as Gunter rearranges all these bones very carefully in this long strip of linen or leather. With Gunter, it's always hard to tell because a lot of the material he carries is kind of crusty. But he then suddenly pulls this thing away, and the bones again scatter onto the ground, and suddenly they form a shape. Gunter, you see half of it has resumed that shape of a skull, but the other half seems to almost appear to be like a doorway, which you would recognize as wheel. This is both wheel and woe, and it indicates that some good may come of it, but some bad as well.
Okay. I'm getting there. I think for the third time, which also means if you cast the spell 2 or more times before completing your next long rest, there is a cumulative 25% chance for each casting after the first that you get a random reading.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
Okay.
And I'm going to cast it a third time,
Sure.
wondering what would happen if I tried to shape stone the door open.
You think this to yourself. The bones you haven't collected yet, but this time you just hit them and they scatter across the floor. But then right back in front of you. And remind me again, what was your action that you wanted to think about?
What would happen if I tried to stone shape open the assumed door through this room?
You can see the bones as they back into place, form now in their entirety a gateway.
Ooh.
Wheel.
All right. I'm gonna be like, all right. I'll pack up my stuff and start just like.
So wait, real quick, because that
While
takes
that's
20.
been happening-
That's 20 minutes of time.
Right.
So,
So
in
while
that
that's
20
been
minutes,
happening,
what are you guys doing?
I'm gonna be writing in my book, be like, is it possible that you could translate these symbols, and then I would just, or like give me the their meanings, and then I would just
So,
draw
Heinrich,
the
you draw this celestial question and then enter the symbols. The symbols, for their part, as the celestial fades down, the symbols stay on the page. And suddenly, you watch as little celestial glyphs appear above each, and they read. The one that looks like the one that you deciphered as slash and cleave is slash. The silver one that Morwen found, with the sort of anvil, the cleaver, and the stick, translates to animate. The one that has the long line, the shorter line still, and then that weird little L translates to shrink. The one that seems to be a circle with lines from each direction, and then that sort of 3 lines going down, 1 spike going up. This one is target. And then there's all of that writing just kind of fades down and back into the book.
And I copy all of that. Alright, time to get creative with some random words. And then I'll be pondering for the rest of the time.
Okay.
Over the rest of my notes. I'm like,
and you
okay,
think.
and then, yeah.
Shae, are you doing anything with this 20 minutes?
Other than just being antsy? No.
Okay. At this point, over the 20 minutes, Krawtic does approach you, and off to the side, and Xinyi would say, Shae, the undisturbed ground means one of 2 things. Either they were unable to get in and we are ahead, or they have a faster route and we are behind.
Yes. And by a great margin.
In either circumstance, yes.
There's only one way to find out.
As you say, but I do wish that there was a way we could ask somebody on the outside if there was a way to find out. You did not meet anybody in the Ring of Gold?
No. We merely observed it.
Perhaps I'll ask Guntir. He has
Perhaps
abilities.
Helia might shed some other light. She disappeared down into the town for a moment.
And Guntir, because you're concentrating on your ritual, you don't see this, but as Krawtic says he's going to ask Guntir, you see both Shae and Krawtic turn and look, and you are just now, and the bones are going everywhere, and you see Krawtic now turn back to you, Shae. Perhaps you are correct. Morwen, what are you doing with this 20 minutes?
Introducing Helia to Frank.
Okay. Helia comes over.
Well, I'll go to her.
Okay, you go over to Helia and she turns. Yes, Morwen.
I just wanted to introduce you to my friend. This is Frank, and my tail's just like.
You can see now she looks first at Heinrich, who's like deep in thought, and then she turns over to Guntir, who has this gleeful look on his face as he stares down at a pile of bones.
Oh no, I'm deathly serious looking.
Okay, so you're deathly serious now as this wheel and woe sign reappears. He looks over at Shae and Krawtic, who are off having a private conversation. I haven't met your friend. You know it's a skull, right? Can you cast magic too? Right. 20 minutes passes, and Guntir, suddenly you have
Ha ha!
a solution. You guys hear Guntir loudly exclaim.
I'm gonna start searching the walls for like any sort of sign of the exit,
Okay.
and then when I discern where it might be, starting at the opposite side of the room, assuming that it's just going to continue straight across, like
Sure.
past
Make,
all.
make an
stuff.
investigation check and make it at advantage,
Okay.
as you now have a couple clues working in your favor.
Ooh. All right. That's a 24.
Gunter, you walk up to the far wall, assuming that perhaps this hallway will lead straight, and you go up, and the first stone that you knock on, very hollow sounding. And you kind of step back and visualizing, and you can imagine that perhaps there is a door right in front of you.
I'm going to cast Stone Shape, so I'm
Okay.
gonna like touch the wall kind of at the top, and then outline the shape of the door,
Sure.
and have the stone meld down into the ground.
So you all watch as Gunter kind of goes up to the wall. His hands kind of knocks one time, listening. He puts his hands up, and as he traces the stones, you see Diagon Alley-esque, the individual bricks kind of shift over, some of them to the sides and disappearing into the walls, others collapsing down and melding with the floor. And in front of you, 10 feet across, 10 feet wide, is a narrow corridor. This corridor, as you see it, more of these dull red torches burn along the hallway, casting a dim glow through the whole thing. And at the very end, you can see the final set, 45 feet away, burst into this dim light. It reflects off of a bent-over figure, bronze across his shoulders. But because it is 12 o'clock,
Oh.
that is where we're going to end for the evening. So, thank you guys very much for tuning in. I know we did have some technical issues early on, so for those of you who stuck with us through that, thank you so very much. Big thank you to, let me pull up chat real quick because I put it away to look at spells. Big thank you to Talon, Geobro, Das. Huge thank you to the Nat 30s. Thank you much for those subscriptions. It means a lot, and we really appreciate it. If you have not checked out the Nat 30s, they are another Massachusetts-based D&D group. Just a really, really fun group to watch. Hopefully at some point, if the world normalizes, we've talked about potentially maybe doing some kind of a thing, because we are geographically so close. But we'll figure something out. Check them out. They are super cool. Lenny, do this. Thank you for the subscription. Really appreciate that. Das, great to see you. Talon, of course, always great to see you. And everybody else from before we went to break, or second unplanned break. Thank you so much for tuning in, for the subscriptions, for the bits, for all of that. It helps out a tremendous amount. We have some super exciting stuff on the horizon, largely in part to you, largely in part to Tina, and largely in part to Matt. We have some really, really exciting stuff coming up. Next week, I will be on vacation, which means I will not be in this physical location. However, we may still be running the show. We have to go and test out the internet connection, see how that's going to work. But assuming that everything comes together, we'll be here next week with session 45 of Adventures in Alberon. I don't have a title yet. It's getting harder and harder because you guys, you made it further than I thought for once ever. And it's great. It made me really happy. You actually got to like the last page of my prep. It made me nervous.
We beat you, finally.
You beat me.
We won Dungeons and Dragons.
I will say I am very proud of the fact that it so far in the entirety of the campaign, there's been 2 maps that I haven't had. One was for a hotel room that you guys wanted to see the outline of, and the other one was for like a super random little fight.
Yeah.
And I've done pretty good. I'm pretty proud of that. Anyways, for everybody who like, followed, and subscribed, thank you so much. It means a ton, and I know in the last week we've grown by like 15 to 17 or 18 now. We've grown even since the stream. So thank you guys so much. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you next week. Stay safe out there, and good night.